I'll call to order this District of Clearwater regular council meeting for Tuesday, August 19th, 2025 at 2 p.m. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are fortunate to gather together today on the unceded territory of the Simpcw people who have been caretakers of this land since time immemorial. Are there any light items that anybody would like to add to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
We
thank
just
you.
have a change of the policy, procurement disposition of assets policy under item, I've lost it here, item 16.3, just an updated policy, the one that was
Okay,
on
so
the.
it'll be on table a different policy as
Correct.
opposed to the one that was in the published agenda. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, can I get a motion to move the agenda with that change to the one policy under 16.3? So moved by Councillor Herring and seconded by Councillor Frizzle. All those in favor? And that passes. Are there any declared known conflict of interest or pecuniary interest? No. Okay, good. I see Director Zhao is here. Do you wish to have any words today? You look like you're prepped, so come on up. to the
Director
mic.
Youssef, as
Yeah.
Director Liard likes to refer to me
Oh,
as.
yes, yes. We'll try to give you the proper title. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just giving you some updates from TNRD Area A and TNRD as a whole. At the last board meeting, we had updated, or in the process of updating the contracts with the City of Kamloops about the planning services. It's one of those topics that without, as a first-time elected, I had to really dig into the knowledge of staff to understand why certain contracts were written 30 years ago and why were members paying into a service that they're not actually getting. What happened was there was a need for municipal members to take part in the planning decisions in the TNRD as a whole. But in effect, same as District of Clearwater, when you do get planning services from the TNRD, you're paying above the amount that you guys had contracted out to TNRD for. So the contract with the District of Clearwater with the TNRD will come up for renewal around 2027. And I look forward to a similar dialogue between staff and to staff to get that going. Though for those who might have watched the board meeting, it did sound like, was a bit contentious because we're talking about numbers that people, members contribute to. But I was very glad that in the end, we all collaborated together on that. Moving on, Parks and Trail strategy, it was adopted and now we're moving into implementation. Staff will continue to give updates to the board on as to what the priority projects will be from that strategy document. In terms of the TASECO, I look forward to discussing with TNRD staff, who is working with district staff about potential joint meetings with ministries such as municipal affairs to talk about how the province can support us and TASECO for this potentially large project. Updates on the TNRD, welcome to TNRD signs, staff, it's one of those projects that the board signed off on, beginning of our term. We got an update recently that it is underway. There has been just a bit of bureaucracy with MOTT signing off on the placements on the highways. And also, I had a meeting with the Ministry of Forests Assistant Deputy Minister Jeffries, and also had a phone call with Chief Lampro of Simpcw First Nations, just to understand what the Ministry of Forests, intends to do with, our area. Because a few residents had approached me a number of months ago about concerns that there was going to be commercial logging in the Wellsgrave Park. I traveled to Prince Rupert and spoke with Minister Davidson of Environment and Parks, and she assured me there is no such, concepts or even desire to do that. So the Assistant Deputy Minister for Ministry of Forest, gave me the full what the strategy was supposed to be. And I thank Mayor Blackwell as well for sharing that with me, that to take a managed forest approach to parks, as we've seen in recent years, such as Lytton. It doesn't matter where the fire starts. If it's near a community, we should be proactive in mitigating those risks. And sometimes it conflicts with certain provincial mandates, such as parks, which is no human interference, no interaction. So yeah, I told them where I'm in support of that for Area A. And then I'm just an update. I'm also now the representative from TNRD on the board of directors for Tourism Wells Gray. Kathy Armstrong had stepped down, and I will be filling that role in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Director Zhao? I'll just do a couple comments. I'll be keenly interested in seeing if there any the Parks and Rec strategy for trails intersects with anything in Clearwater. Note on the highway signs for entry into the TNRD, there will not be one at this current time on Highway 24, where the Caribou Regional District has their sign. So be worth looking into that a little bit. Planning services, District of Clearwater contracts its planning services to True Consulting. So we don't actually use any TNRD planning services. We do use building inspection. Currently, the District of Clearwater contributes $7,777 for the greater good of planning services to the region. So that is our current annual contribution, and as Director Zhao pointed out, that will come up in I believe 2 years for renegotiation. And as to the whole discussion about BC Parks, my understanding at the time that was strictly for fire smarting around the preservation of key infrastructure and key locations, i.e. fire smarting around Helmucket Falls platform, Spahats platform, existing trails and roads, and also to create safe zones in the event of a wildfire for egress evacuations of the park. So, whether that be a place for a helipad or clearing off the built up debris along the roadsides that has been basically left for 25 years. I mean, since before early in my time, to make it a safer place for the transit of people in and out of the park. And as Director Zhao and I were discussing yesterday, there was an incident with a rollover and a fire in the park. If this had been a dry summer in that location, we would have had a whole bunch of people trapped in the park. So this is necessary work that needs to be done. I would not construe it as logging, though. It is prevention and safety. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you. Moving on up, we do have some point one. Our MLA, Ward Stamer, is here. Come on down. Take the mic. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship, Mr. Mayor, Council, staff, audience. Thanks so much. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll try to keep it short and sweet and to the point. It's been very busy, even though people seem to think that we get the summer off when the legislature doesn't sit. That is not true. And so just as a quick review, with the redistribution of our riding, we are no longer Kamloops North Thompson, Kamloops South Thompson. We are Kamloops North Thompson. And that includes both Thompson Valleys. That is 5 municipalities, including yourselves. That's 6 First Nations and 1 regional district. So it's changed immensely in what the previous MLA had to do in regards to what the office has to do. We have 2 full-time staff now in our office, many files, many different things going on. There's a couple of things we'll be talking about that pertain to this area, if I may. I've attended many events throughout the riding. I was here a month ago. As an example, last weekend was Ribfest and Hot Night in the City in Kamloops. On Saturday, we gave out 1,900 bottles of water and 1,000 freezies. So it was a very, very positive response, great turnout, and those are the kinds of events that make, being an MLA a lot of fun. lots of engagement. Last night I was at District of Barrier giving a bit of an update as I'm giving today. Tonight I'm going to Chase. There's a wrap up of the Cornhusker Festival and their music in the park. Thursday morning, I've got meetings all day tomorrow. Thursday morning, I'll be in the A&W in Barrier for the fundraiser. All the A&Ws across Canada do a fundraiser for MS on this Thursday. At the beginning of the day and throughout the day, they'll be asking people to top up their bills so that that money can be donated, and every teen burger that is sold across Canada, $2 of every burger will be donated to multiple sclerosis. I'm hoping to make it back for the show and shine here on the weekend. Friday night, I'm going to be in Chase again for the Nesconlith Indian Band Powwow Days. Also, as the Forest Shadow Minister for Forestry, it's been a busy file. I've been all over the place, talking to business leaders, talking to owners, talking to community forests. There's some significant concerns on this file. You know, we've been asking the government for significant changes to forest policy, whether it's streamlining the permitting process, whether it's looking at our stumpage rates, knowing that it's the most expensive fiber in North America. Certainty of fiber is a big deal. I mean, yesterday, Rick Dolman was appointed as chair of the FII, which is the Forest Innovative Investment Corporation, which is a Crown corporation, which is great. I think Rick is a seasoned veteran in the forest industry. However, without any fiber, they're not going to be able to make anything to sell anything. So that's going to be a significant challenge. One of the things I know that's been important to many of the residents in Clearwater, it's something that my office has been aware of for quite some time. That's with the in regards to 52 Ridge. I can share with you an email that was sent on August the 15th. It basically says, thank you for your patience. Following up on calls on Wednesday, I look further from the health side of things. Here's the info that I can share with you. So this is in writing. Interior Health has worked with the owner to ensure compliance with health requirements for the restaurant and pool operations. They have confirmed both are permitted and continued / more frequent inspections, the most recently incurred in July, having confirmed compliance. As we discussed, the other concerns around public safety or the liquor license are best directed to PSSG, which is the Solicitor General. Thanks, and let me know if you have any other additional information that you need. That's it. So that's all we've got in writing. As for the other concerns that we are all now aware of and some of the ongoing things that are happening, this is as good as we get from the ministry's response on that file. So it doesn't mean that we're not going to keep trying to find out, you know, some of the other information pertaining to this. But as far as the 15th of August, they're saying that the business is in compliance in accordance to health in regards to the restaurant and the pool. Okay. Second up, I understand not only from yourselves, but also from the District of Barrier, and I've also been in contact with other municipalities, that there seems like there hasn't been any ministry meetings or appointments set up for UBCM yet. Normally by this time, depending on the amount of requests, there's usually at least 1 or 2 opportunities. So and they haven't been able to get enough staff to coordinate that with your office. Scenario number 2 is there may not be any ministers there available in Victoria because we might even be in an election. So there's a lot of information going on right now between some of the consequences on the Green leadership, some of the things that are going on in regards to the budget coming out. Again, September the 15th is the last date by law that this government can actually release the quarterly report on our fiscal quarterly announcement, and it's probably going to be bad news, and we're not entirely sure if we're going to be sitting this fall or not. So that's pretty much all I can say. I'm trying to find more information on to, you know, exactly what is going on, regardless of whether a minister is available or not. I'm hoping that, you know, you still have the opportunity to talk to a deputy minister. I know there's concerns with deactivation throughout our riding. I've been trying to get a meeting with the district manager. It's probably been at least a month now. The latest communique we got a week ago was that she needs to seek permission from the forest minister for her to be able to have a conversation with her MLA. I'm not making this up. As to any concerns that you may have, again, I've always been on the premise that I'm always a phone call away, and I'm certainly willing to hear any requests or anything that you need at this time. And, again, I'll be here as much as I possibly can going throughout the fall. And, again, I'm on a special committee for electoral and democratic reform. Just as a short segue to that, we ended up spending 2 weeks, 1 week on the road, Vancouver, Prince George, Kelowna, Cranbrook, and Surrey. We've had approximately 500 presentations and submissions to us. Our job is to go back on the second week in September and spend a week going through all of it, then trying to come up with a recommendation to the legislature, and then the legislature hopefully will make a decision going forward on whether we keep our system the way it is, whether we go to an STV or something similar to that. One of the things that was I brought up first, was that possibly allowing municipal elections coming up, totally up to the municipalities if they choose, to have a different way of voting for council and or the mayor. One of the concerns that was brought up was that in a lot of cases, we already sort of have an STV because, as yourselves, you've got 6 councillors. As a resident, you have 6 votes, so you can pick 6 individual times, or most people only pick 2 or 3, and then you pick one person first past the post for the mayor. And in many ridings, in many municipalities, the mayor may get elected with only 30% of the vote. So what the thought process is maybe there's an opportunity, if a municipality wants to do an STV where you can have multiple choices for that mayor. So if the mayor doesn't hit, say Mayor Blackwell doesn't hit 50%, then there's second votes, there's third votes, so that eventually you will have somebody pass 50%. So it seems like that has traction. There's an opportunity for maybe trying something different. People get an experience on, okay, what's a different way of voting, and then possibly bringing it to the next provincial election. So, any questions?
Any questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Herring.
So just a sort of an issue for advocacy I wanted to flag is we're struggling with the changes to DCCs as a mechanism of funding development. You know, we've had the federal government come in and say they want us to consider waiving DCCs for large multi-unit buildings. We've had the provincial government issue advice about when to charge DCCs. We actually went down that road already, and we found it's interesting. It certainly does spur development, but it makes it so that you can't collect any money to fund the infrastructure for that development. We're finding, in particular, that the full collection of DCCs funds a very small component of the actual infrastructure required to further develop our community. We've got presentation coming up from TASECO, lots of jobs, lots of people coming this way. We need infrastructure to be able to fund our housing, and we need a way to fund it. So any advocacy you can do on our behalf to try and get more funding for municipal infrastructure and to move that burden away from local developers and towards the community benefit and the provincial benefit. Give us some funding.
Well,
I'm down to. I want some money.
Well, thanks very much for that, because I'm sure that's going to be a common theme in Victoria next month. 2 things. Again, this is apolitical, but this government has decided that they're going to move forward and not even look at your official community plans or any of your asset management plans in regards to infrastructure capacity and as you move forward, so they can end up putting an additional burden on yourselves and your taxpayers without any consultation. That's number one. The second thing is, if you're familiar with what's happening in OK Falls wants to, they've held a referendum, and the people have resignedly approved an opportunity to get a letters patent and become a municipality. And the provincial government has said, well, without First Nations consultation, we can't do that. So this Cowichan thing is a big deal because it has ramifications all the way through. So imagine if Clearwater was unincorporated right now and you wanted to be able to form a municipality. Right now it's all frozen. That also freezes your ability for taxation. So there's a bunch of different things that are going on right now. And again, I'm not asking for an election, but I know that there's a lot of pressure right now, and a lot of the things that are occurring need a change in legislation. They cannot be done with policy. They cannot be done with regulation. They have to be done with a change in legislation. A year and a half ago, that was brought to everyone's attention. The minister responsible, Minister Cullen, brought forth new legislation. Everybody pushed back on it, so the government decided to put it behind the scenes. And in the meantime, they've been making all these little separate land agreements without support and legislation. So going forward, if this is what the province wants to do, and the people want to do it, we have to change the legislation. So I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but that's what's needed. So in the meantime, OK Falls is falling through the cracks. They can't even raise the revenue needed for their infrastructure because they're unincorporated. And the regional district has no way of being able to raise the money that they need for that infrastructure. So I appreciate the question, and absolutely, we know how important it is. That's why you folks are elected, is to be able to sit down, determine what you need for your community, set up an official community plan and asset management plan with your residents, determine what you can afford and what you can't afford, what the investors and the builders can afford, and then you build it. You don't just build it and they will come. You have to make sure that you have that capacity. I know talking to Mayor Blackwell this morning, he raised the same points that you raised about TECO, is that, I mean, let's face it, it's great that they're going to streamline the process so that the provincial and federal assessments will be done at the same time. The reality is, even if you want to try to jump through a couple of the hoops, there's significant timelines in the work that has to be done in this country to develop a mine. So if you want to go from 15 years to 10 years, or you want to go to 10 years to 8 years, that's fine. But we are not going to be able to go from 15 years to 2, regardless of who gives the approval to go forward. It just doesn't work that way. And then even if we did, how are we going to move that capacity? Where is that concentrate going to go? On CN Rail? Do they have the capacity? I would suggest they don't. The Port of Vancouver is going to be spending billions of dollars on an expansion program. And I asked the question, so what about the railways? What are they doing? The answer was, we don't know. So what are we going to do? We also know you need power, right? How many years is that going to take to get power over here? You know, the idea now is to come from the Caribou. That's great, but is it going to come from Site C? Is that the main power supply? Is it going to be somewhere else? We don't know that. So yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, but I know exactly what you folks are thinking because I was a mayor. We'd want to make sure that we have everything in place so that if all of a sudden you do have a surge, you're not running around with your heads cut off trying to figure out how you're going to pay for it. So I totally appreciate that question.
Any further questions? Yeah, I'm very aware of OK Falls. I actually spoke on their incorporation study multiple times and actually went there and met the citizens, walked around, saw the place. A fantastic little community. I wish we had some of the stuff that they have there, but yeah, I'm following that one very closely because it is as far as our UBCM meetings at this point, we have had 2 declined, 1 deferred, which will be a staff meeting, and I believe we're actually having that tomorrow, and we have 1 still pending, and I think that's our list right now, 2 still pending. So we have some hope that they're still pending because they haven't said no to them yet, but not that much hope. So yeah. Okay.
And I think, if I may, Mayor Blackwell, I think to add to that, again, I'm being apolitical on this, but the reality is when we have a budget of $93 billion and we have a projected deficit at the beginning of it at 10.9, we know revenues are down. We know that elimination of the carbon tax is going to cost between $2 and $3 billion on that. And what can happen is when those preliminary numbers come out, we could end up getting a downgrade from Moody's. And as soon as that downgrade occurs, our interest rate goes up. And that's on all the debt. So we're already at about, I think, $160 billion. So, you know, we're in a really tough spot right now. We've got contract negotiations coming up with BCGU. We've got contract negotiations coming up with the teachers union. You know, there's some significant challenges, you know, in the next 2 or 3 months for us to try to overcome. At the meantime, trying to, you know, get our economy going again.
We have a lot of things in the air.
Yep.
Okay, not seeing anything else from the rest of council, so thank you for presentation, and if you want to mail some corn back from Chase, that would be great.
Well, the closest place I know to pick it up is at Sun Rivers.
Yeah.
It's 6 cobs for $8.
Yeah,
And there's also another one down in Dallas, and And possibly if I get the chase early enough tonight, I'll bring you back some for the
Okay,
weekend.
okay, cool. Just put it in the mail, put a stamp on it and send it through the mail. It'll be good. Thank you for your time.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. We have a lot of presentations today, so we'll move right on to Cameron Sorensen from Contour Trails in relation to the bike pump track design. Whew, that's a lot of words. So we'll just take a second to get them all set up, and I'll let Mr. Prime let us know when that's ready. Okay, we can see you now.
Thanks, Cam. You can go ahead.
Oh. Might be at your end. Now we've got you. Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready. Yes, we can.
just for liability and longevity. You can get them made locally sometimes, but they usually don't have the same quality. And then for insurance purposes, you're kind of playing with it a bit. So they can be expensive, but you can put as few or as many as you want in an area. So that's, you'll see at the last slide, the variance of price. Jump zone, I think right now, council and the public, or the people that I met with at Clearwater, were probably not too favoring on the pump or on the jumps right now, but I've allocated a spot for future, because you will get requests from, once you get a pump track and skills area, the number one question was, when are the jumps coming? So we've kind of designed an area for future that you can put the jumps if you choose to go down OA immediately or in the future. So health and safety, definitely have to have a lot of signage with rain parks like this. Cover yourself for liability. You can invite an outside auditor to come in, somebody like a Trail Holistics. They do a really good job of auditing parks like this. Just making sure you have all your liability signage in place. I did not put a signed budget in the original design, but just to know that you'll have to allocate some of that. Depends on the community. A lot of them can do them in-house as well, or there's people that do them for you. As far as the design of these things go, I would suggest doing a design build design. A lot of times I've seen people just like, oh, here's what we want to do. And if you don't have your design team that knows a bike park intimately, they're going to design it wrong, and then there's going to be some conflicts. So I would bid it out as a design and build component, so that they have to come to the table with their design of the area. You show them what you have, and then make sure that they know your full project budget. You know, you have $120,000. What can you give us for that $120,000? I know that you have a really strong volunteer community there, so you're just going to show that material and equipment, if you can have some of that stuff in kind, and then make sure that this contractor has a lot of experience, whoever you hire. There's some really shoddy stuff out there, and you want to make sure that they know what they're doing and that they're willing to collaborate with you. And then lastly is the budget. The biggest part about this, you'll notice in the budget, a lot to be determined. That's going to be on the dirt supply. That's the biggest factor for this thing, is how close is the material and how good a quality the material is. Most people have a tough time sourcing this material out, because we don't want sand, we don't want gravel. It has to be a loam silt kind of clay mix that compacts really well and holds its shape and is not rocky. So that's going to be the biggest factor for the community to find, is a good material source. And if you can find it inexpensively, because most construction companies don't want this stuff. So it's great for us. And then the skills area, this is the technical trail features. So that's all those wood features they're talking about. So there's a big variance in price. The more you have, the more features you can have, the more elaborate features you can have. So that can vary a lot in price. Just basically see what you have for budget and throw the rest of it into there. Jump zones, same thing with the jumps, is you can do dirt to dirt jumps, but best to use wood takeoffs. They're consistent, they're predictable, they're less maintenance in the long run, but they can be costly to put in originally. And then multi-use trail, some communities will cap them with a manufactured fine or a fine gravel for walking versus just dirt. That's either depending on budgets. And then I think that's about it. It's a real quick kind of rundown, and I just probably leave it for questions after that, because I'm sure there's a few questions, because I think people had seen this slide beforehand. So.
And I see Councillor Herring with his finger ready on the mic, so go ahead with your questions, Councillor Herring.
So you mentioned some increased maintenance costs with the dirt track. Do you have like a rough estimate of what we could expect as an annual cost for a track like this?
Yeah, typically 5 to 10% of your capital expense.
9 to 18,000. So, other further questions, Councillor Sim?
Thanks very much. You've done some work in Lake Country Bike Park and also Elkford Bike Park. Within those communities, it was mentioned that there was a huge volunteer component. Were they an organized society, or how did you find that they got traction? Because it's a large ticket item.
It is. Elkford, to be honest, most of the volunteer hours were done pre and post. Once we showed up on site, they were there. They fed us a lot of times, but it depends on what you have. And I find a lot of the volunteer hours is going to be getting the stuff set up, having the site ready, finding the material, all of that kind of stuff. Actually, construction time, it's usually just the construction team in there. I prefer having a couple build bays with the community, and you need to organize it around that. But it's all the pre and post stuff that's going to be where most of your volunteer hours come in.
So sorry, so a little more clarity on that, and that's really helpful for the actual implementation. But given the numbers in the budget, so I think it was Elkford, and they received funding through NIDIT. Is that about right? So did the funding come through a municipality, or was a community society need to be formed? Like, how did the funds come? I mean, we're a community of 2,200, and $488,000 is not on the back tree yet.
No. So I think a lot of that funding came from a volunteer. The organization raised some of it, but a lot of it was grant funding. I don't think the organization, like the club themselves, actually funded it. I think they went ahead and found grants. I don't think the community, the volunteer community, actually put up the funds themselves. They found the grant money.
Okay, so just to clarify, you're talking about community meaning the municipality, or community meaning the volunteer citizens?
Both.
Both. Okay, so it was really working in tandem.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Further questions? Okay. Thank you for your presentation. It's really good, and I really do appreciate that what you've put forward here is stageable, so that not all of it has to be completed at once. You can pick and choose a few things there to make it a worthwhile start to something. So that also helps break it up a little bit as far as costs and fundraising and grant, looking for grants as well. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Moving on to Danica White from BC Transit. Just to let everybody know who's out there in the audience, there is information from BC Transit in pages 79 to 104 of your package, but Danica will be doing a presentation up front here. So whenever you're ready to go, Danica, fire away.
Thanks for having me. I don't have a presentation per se. I'll give a few, I guess, talk a little bit about the MOU, and then I'm mostly just here to answer any questions that you might have about these particular expansions, the expansion process, and how we might go forward. So BC Transit is currently confirming our service expansion interest for the 26-27 fiscal year. So these cost estimates have been prepared for your consideration. They include additional service to the Route 10 Valley Connector, couple options, adding 1 more day of service, as well as adding 3 more days of service. Currently, this route runs 2 days a week. So when service expansions require additional funding like this one, BC Transit has to seek this additional funding from the province of BC. So this MOU that you see in the agenda package is, it allows us to seek matching funding from the province on your behalf. And these funding decisions are made by the province closer to budget day, and then provincial budgets are announced on budget day at the end of February, and that's typically when we get confirmation about when funding requests like this are approved or not. In the event that we are able to secure provincial funding for expansions, BC Transit will work with successful local governments on implementations of their transit expansions. And for an expansion like this that doesn't require waiting for an additional vehicle to arrive, we would potentially be looking at targeting implementation of the additional service in September of 2026. I will note that the cost estimate does include some additional revenue estimates that have been prepared. They're very conservative. I did want to point out that these conservative estimates are based off of averages from your entire transit system fares and ridership. And because the Valley 10 connector has higher ridership and higher fare prices than the rest of the system, I do expect revenue returns from this expansion to be higher than what is currently in the MOU. And the district does get to keep all of the transit revenue. So this I think would make an expansion like this more cost recovery than what is currently presented in the MOU. And I'm happy to take any questions if anyone wants to.
Thank you.
Has anything more they want to know?
Thank you. Yes, and to note to council that we will also be discussing this later at the point where it comes up in the agenda, so you could have the opportunity to ask staff questions as well. Any questions right now of Danica on this point? I see Councillor Sim ready to ask a question.
Yeah, and this may be appropriate for later on, but you've said that part of the work that you would do in the application is to submit for a cost sharing. So some of the figures that we have been provided are for a one-day edition. Am I right that it's 19,000? So it's 19,000. So is that, what would be that amount that you would then go back to the government with? Does that, I'm not sure if that's a clear question, and if not, I apologize.
Yeah, respectfully through the chair. So in the MOU, we do have the estimated total cost of that one additional day of service is estimated at 51,000, and about 19,000 of that would be expected to be covered by the district. So the remainder is what we'd be seeking from the province.
Okay, so that's our share in roughly
So 32,000.
32,000.
And to note the note right underneath that table, the net municipal share represents the total cost to be shared among all participating partners. Those partners at this point are the District of Clearwater, District of Barrier, TNRD electoral areas A, B, and O, which are the electoral areas that the bus passes through.
So that's the next. So with the 52,000, and I understood that the 19,000 was the District of Clearwater, and the remainder would be shared amongst those. But now what I'm hearing is that $19,000 would be shared with the other regional district and the District of Barrier. Is that correct?
That is correct. And
So roughly $6,000 to the municipality for the one extra day.
it depends, and Mr. Johnson will probably want to speak to that at some point, because it depends on the agreement that we have. And
Okay, and that maybe we'll end the conversation here because it sounds like it'll come up later, and that's fine. I didn't quite understand where the province was in and where those numbers came from, so I appreciate that clarity.
the TNRD staff have reached out to the TNRD. This is very fast coming to us, so to discuss these things, and it'll be brought to them for further discussion as well. So, but yeah, I'll bring that forward. Any further questions on this at this point? And I'm quite sure staff are well versed on this, so that they can probably answer your questions when it comes up in the regular agenda. Okay. I'm not seeing any at this point, Danica. Thank you for your time today, and have a good day.
Thanks. Would you like me to stay on until this comes up again in the agenda?
That we could probably contact you back. I don't know how long that's going to be. So if you don't mind watching us in the background, go right ahead. But yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Coming up next is Terry Hadwin of the Thompson Nicola Film Commission. Come on down, Terry. Thank you for being patient. We have a lot of presentations today. More than the TNRD even. Look at that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm going to buzz through, do I have a PowerPoint geared up here? I'm going to speak rapidly so that I'm not keeping you from the rest of your business. I have a lot to share with you, but I'm going to try to do it as quickly as I possibly can, just so that you can carry on with your day.
Sorry, Terry, maybe just bring the mic down a little bit. Just...
I'm short. I'm vertically challenged.
I didn't want to say that. Okay, that's better.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so my name is Terry Hadwin, and I am the Thompson Nicola Film Commissioner. I've been in my position for about 3 years now, and I really wanted to get out into the communities to make sure that they were aware of what it is that our services that we provide to the communities and throughout the entire regional district. So our mission statement, I'm not going to read it, but in essence what it is and why we exist is so that economic development through the film industry in the region, and also facilitate growth of the film industry from within by providing learning opportunities and networking opportunities for those that work in the film industry. I went too far. There we go. Ah, I found a flicker here, so I'm going to use it. So we have a very small department. There's 2.5 of us, 2 full-time and 1 part-time. And we are one of 7 different film commissions regions throughout the province, and we're all under the umbrella of Creative BC Film Commission. And this is just some silly little joke. My husband once told me that if I have to explain a joke, it's no longer funny, so I won't go too far into it. But in essence, what it is that we welcome film productions into the area to hopefully get them to spend a substantial amount of money while they're in the region. I kind of wanted to talk about numbers a little bit. So film industry is part of the creative sector as a whole. Film industry being the largest earner and driver of economic development in the province of BC. And we're sitting somewhere around the $2 billion amount. So we're lower than tourism, but higher than forestry. And I wanted to show some numbers that we've got going on here because $2 billion is a lot, but it's actually the lowest numbers that we've seen since 2016. So the region itself is not as high as it once was a couple of years ago. BC is the same, Canada is the same, and worldwide it's the same. So all over, ever since the 2023 strikes, the Actors and the Writers Guild strikes, the numbers have been down. So I just wanted to kind of show a few numbers. That being said, we still see that we're bringing in about $9.75 million into the region. So that being labor, services that are being impacted, which would be the hotels, gas stations, all of those sorts of spin-offs. A really exciting project that we had filmed partially within the region of the Thompson-Nicola. Sugarcane made it all the way to the Oscars. I think that's pretty gosh darn exciting. If you got the opportunity to see the chief actually dance on the red carpet, thrilling. So exciting to see. A few others. I want to talk about Tracker just because it's I feel like our biggest win that we've had. So Tracker, we were the first 5 minutes of the pilot episode, so that's when people are trying to get their audience's attention. It was the first 5 minutes after the Super Bowl. You can't land a better primetime slot than that. And all of their promotional material was of the region. So you can see Thompson-Nicola right there. And Get Fast, this is a movie that you put on when you are just wanting to zone right out and have a good time. It's not a thinker, it's not a thought provoker, it's all about high action and making fun and having a good time. Lou Diamond Phillips would probably be the most notable actor in that one. They had their premiere at the Kamloops Paramount Theatre, and a lot of the producers and cast came to celebrate that. It was really exciting. There was a very incredible semi-crash scene with helicopters around Logan Lake for that one. A few other great wins. In Cold Water, I think it had 5 Leo Award wins this year. It's about a couple where the woman from Revelstoke dies. Was it murder? I will let you all tune in to find out and come to your own decision of what happened there. I wanted to just talk briefly about how I can't talk about what I'm doing a lot of the times. It's top secret, and a lot of it is behind an NDA, and sometimes it's just from trying to keep things as low profile as we possibly can. When we start talking about what is happening in the area while it's happening, a lot of people feel that they're entitled to go and visit set. They think that they know these people, that because they've seen them on TV, they can go and shake their hands. These people are working. You would never walk up to somebody while they're working on a road or building a house. You also shouldn't walk up to the actors while they're performing in their art and in their scenes. So that's why a lot of what I do is top secret. And we love to celebrate it after the fact. There's a whole big list of a lot of things that I work on. So for every one project that we celebrate and we have land here, there's probably 20 that I'm working on trying to bring here that don't necessarily come. But we're always behind the scenes, and one of the biggest things that we're doing is we're trying to be advocates for the area so that people know that they can come here, that they can film here, and that we're friendly. I want to bring up this list because there's a couple of things that I want to share with the community. Is if you are interested in having a film production, want to film on your property, at your home, whatever the case may be, your business, your acreage, come in and talk to me because we would love to have you in our film friendly database. We're always approached for things that you would never even think of for script needs, and having those photos ready to show them that we have them ready here in our area will help us land them here. Commercials especially, they contact us and they want stuff yesterday before they even thought to want it from us. So if we have it already in our database, we're ready to give it to them, and that makes it that much more easier for us to land the projects here. If you're interested in working in film industry, again, reach out to us so that we can get you in our crew database. So in essence and in summary, we are the ambassadors for the film industry. A couple of successes that we've had recently, we have brought back our film map, so you can look to see what projects have been filmed in whichever area you are looking to explore. It starts out by listing the most recent projects, but you can also hone in on the various parts of the map, or you can do a search, whatever the case may be. So this is actually one of the TNRD's most visited sites in their server. So that's pretty exciting to know that people are coming to this site to see what's happening in the TNRD. We've also done a 3-year strategic plan so that we know what to focus on, because there's so many things in the arts. Ideas pop like popcorn, and we try to catch those ideas and steer our direction. Recently, I went to Las Vegas to promote the Thompson-Nicola region for film projects. We were the only Canadian location that was set up at that event, and had I known that Trump was going to be elected while I was down there, I don't know if I would have gone down there during that time. However, it ended up being very lucrative because unfortunately our dollar did kind of take a little bit of a nosedive overnight, and our tax credits were announced to go up. So the American filmmakers found out that basically every third day to film in the Thompson-Nicola region was going to be free. So they definitely started flocking to that table, so it was exciting. And while we can't nominate the region, we were able to nominate Kamloops, and we have been recognized as one of the top places to live and work as a filmmaker for 3 years in a row in the Movie Maker magazine. Every third Sunday, I get to be the moderator for a film industry networking event where we talk about various different subjects. We try to bring in new speakers every month so that people have a reason to come and discuss what is happening in the film industry, and we have a topic of conversation so we're not just sitting around gossiping. Once a year we hold a Learn About Film Laugh industry event where it's a 2-day extravaganza of people getting to dive right into various different elements of film industry. This year we're going to be focusing on screenwriting because that was feedback that we got last year. And here I am in my 40s. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that I was going to be excited about generators, but gotta tell you, I'm supercharged, yark, yark, yark. Amped, however you want to call it, about these e-generators. They are clean energy, they're whisper quiet, and we were able to take advantage of a green grant to purchase these generators so that when film productions come into our area, they are able to use these generators. So it works late into the evenings in neighborhoods where we're trying to be quiet. Lots of lovely things came out of these generators, so very excited. We're also hosting familiarization tours. This year we did the western portion of the TNRD, and next year we will be doing the eastern portion of the TNRD, so we'll be contacting people within the District of Clearwater to see if they want to be one of our stops. And we're always looking to try to develop a motion picture studio within our region because we know that that would catalyst us into the future. And this is where you can find more information if you don't want to track me down, but please do if you're interested. So we have a website with a wealth of information. We are on just about every social channel that you can think of. And we would highly recommend that people sign up to our e-newsletter. We only send it out once a month so that we don't bombard people, and we just give them a wealth of information. And that is it that I have to talk to you about. I hope I made it in 10 minutes.
Oh, great job. Thank you.
And if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, I'll start out with this, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but for the North Thompson, or for our section of North Thompson, what are the challenges? What are the missing pieces to bring films to this area? Because I know it's a lot easier to film west of Kamloops, around Kamloops, and south of Kamloops. So what's holding us back here?
Right. Well, I think that probably what holds you back the most is an airport, a lack of an airport. I mean, that is going to be a hub that allows productions, especially if they're coming from LA, they're going to probably then go to Vancouver and then come to Kamloops, and then they have to then find a way to come to Clearwater. So that would probably be the biggest hurdle. However, I don't think that it impedes opportunities such as reality television. We've been approached within the last year of a project that wanted to come around this area. They didn't end up selecting this area, but they were looking. So I think that would probably be the largest hurdle.
What about expectations of crews for accommodation? I know we have a hotel industry, but it's usually booked up in the middle of the year. What's sort of the expectations for these crews?
Well, we have updated our database so that it reflects your newer infrastructure when it comes to accommodations and updates that you've had with accommodations since COVID and such. I would say that if we're looking at a larger scale production, they're looking at about 200 rooms. Even Kamloops has a hard time meeting those. The Okanagan does. I mean, so it's not that is what's holding things back, I don't believe, because I think that productions that would be looking to come here would have smaller crews, and they would hopefully look to hire locals as well.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? Councillor Sim.
Is there anything more that the community could do to enhance the portfolio when making your pitch?
Please reach out to me if you have a business and a home or an acreage that you are considering that you would be open to having that conversation of having a film production on your property. Just because maybe you haven't been approached before doesn't mean that you wouldn't be approached now. I mean, we never know what's going to be in a script and what they're going to need. So having those properties listed in our film friendly database in advance helps us to be able to pitch the TNRD.
And would that be the same for areas, geographic locations, or do you feel you've got a pretty good inventory in which to promote?
We can always grow that database, always. I think that it's always worth doing. We have about 3,200 locations throughout the TNRD right now, but we're always trying to update that library.
And so with that library, are you dependent on the communities themselves, or is that something that you come out to? Like, I'm just looking for our role and where we might be proactive with it.
As a municipality, it would be lovely if I could work with staff to develop procedure and policies and a permit in advance of being approached, so that when a production comes here and says, for example, maybe they want to film one of your car shows or something like that, you would have all of the proper notifications in place in advance of that application so that you can get to a yes quicker. If you have staff turnover, those sorts of things, they have some document to turn to know these are what steps are in place, and they should be contacting me in case they have any questions. You don't know what you don't know. For example, if somebody was to say, I want to film a TV series here next week, how would you approach that? Do you know to ask about, is there going to be gunfire? Is there going to be pyrotechnics? Like, those are the sorts of questions that maybe if you haven't been used for filming for quite some time, maybe you don't know to ask those questions.
And further?
The final one, just to drill down even further. So in terms of, like, if you were to send out a portfolio of suggestions, so for example, the viewing platform of Spahats has just been redone. If that is something relatively new, where does that fit into your awareness, or is that sort of up to our region to share with you as possibilities?
Absolutely. If there is things that you want to make us aware of, if there's brand new businesses, if there's new infrastructure, if there's things that the municipality owns themselves, for example, a bike park or what have you, let us know so that we can come and photograph it so that we can pitch it as a possibility.
Thank you. Further questions? Thank you for your presentation and for keeping it tight on time. Thank you.
Awesome.
And,
Thank
and
you.
whenever that location that requires several rusty Datsuns comes up, just let me know. I've got that for you. So, thank you. Thank you for your
you.
time. Moving on up to Taseko, Cora, and yes, Ursula, come on down.
I want to thank you for lowering the mic. I knew I was going to need to do that. So,
Thank you for having us today. My name is Cordewalt Gagnon. I am the project manager for the Yellowhead project. We've come today to keep you informed of our milestones we've hit recently, as well as go over some details of our initial project description. So once the slides are up, I can, don't worry, perform until then, but perfect. There we go. So some of the key milestones we hit is we continued engagement with local districts, yourselves, the TNRD, and local communities. We have hosted open houses in Bavenby, Clearwater, and Barrier, which were extremely well attended. So we had close to 600 locals attend the Bavenby, Clearwater, and Barrier events. So very appreciative of the interest to come out and learn about the project, to ask questions, to meet our team. We are in the CIMP environmental assessment process, and we continue to engage both with CIMP and other Indigenous nations on the project. The initial project description, which we call an IPD, was formally submitted to the BC Environmental Assessment Office and the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. That was formally accepted on July 7th. And we launched our project website, so you can learn about our project at the yellowheadproject.com. And the week after submitting the IPD and it being accepted, we also updated our technical report on the Yellowhead Copper project as well. So that was released in July. I'm trying to hit next. It won't go for me. Sorry. Unless I have to point it somewhere. So I mentioned we are in the CIMP process. So we entered the CIMP process in 2024, and we're currently near the end of step 2. The CIMP process is an Indigenous consent-based process and ensures that the project is assessed based off CIMP's rights, interests, laws, values, priorities, and culture. Now, I would have had this roadmap at previous presentations to yourselves, but what's changed is that little red star. So we're now in the black quadrant. So we've entered into the provincial and federal assessment processes. So we're very excited. It took a lot of work for our team to prepare the initial project description. And we held those open houses ahead of that period to provide community members the opportunity to provide feedback prior to us formally starting the process. So what is IPD? What is an initial project description? Very high level. Within that document, you will have the information of what is the project, our Indigenous engagement, the CIMP process, what is the project design and components, information about forecasted workforce and economic impact, environmental and regulatory considerations, environmental management, biophysical environment, and project history. So that document is available on the EPIC website. So the initial project description is there and is available for anyone to review and find out more about the nitty-gritty of the project. So all the more details than what we've provided or have time to provide within these meetings. High level, so the project components. Project site components include an open pit, overburden waste rock and ore storage areas, a plant site. The plant site includes a concentrator, associated infrastructure, process water pond, water treatment plant, maintenance facilities, a warehouse, a mine dry. For those of you who don't know what a mine dry, that is where your workforce changes, showers, a administration building, gatehouse, first aid. Then there's a tailings storage facility and a water management infrastructure. The off-site infrastructure include a transmission line. So Taseko is to design and permit a 110 kilometer, 230 kV overhead transmission line from 100 Mile House to site.
The point of interconnection, that 100-mile house location, was determined by BC Hydro, and a system impact study is currently in progress. So BC Hydro decides the point of interconnection, and then we are required to design, permit, construct, and operate the transmission line. The access routes, so primary access routes are from Highway 5 in Vavenby along current Forest Service roads, and then the secondary access for oversized heavy loads are via Highway 5 at Birch Island. The rail loadout facility is the former Weyerhaeuser site, and that is just about 2.5 kilometers of Vavenby and around 25 kilometers from the proposed site. Now, this project was previously called the Harper Creek Project. There has been design enhancements and improvements since Taseko acquired the project. So the Yellowhead project has improvements to tailings and water management. So the reduced stored water has been reduced by 90% in the proposed tailings storage facility for the Yellowhead project. We've improved embankment design and construction, as well as we've increased tailings beach widths. We've made other project design improvements to optimize throughput, cutoff grade, pit size, and phasing. We've improved the crusher and plant site location and redesigned the concentrator. A lot of these designs also help to reduce the haulage that would be required, so reducing that. And we've made it more efficient site layout to minimize disturbance. With the improvements, there's also been an increase of 22% to the recoverable copper, so helping to improve project economics. Now, what is an open pit mining copper mining process? So on the screen here, we have the process of drilling, blasting. You're loading the materials into one of those massive haul trucks. You're hauling the material to a crusher. The crusher is then breaking down the rock into smaller baseball-size rock. Those rocks are then put on a conveyor belt and brought to the mill, where they are grinded down to a more sand-like material. It goes through a flotation process, and then the end product is concentrate, very fine material that you see there. That concentrate is loaded into trucks. It'll be transported to the rail loadout facility, loaded onto train, sent to the Vancouver port to be shipped, and then smelted overseas, where you have a final product of copper. And I'm going to hand it over to Ursula. So Ursula recently joined our team in June, and so she's also going to be presenting some slides for you.
Thank you. So our next slide is about workforce and housing. I think you all heard about the amount of workforce that that are planned, that we are going to be needing during construction and operation. And our goal is, of course, to primarily hire local and within the region, within the area. And also during operations, we'd like to see most of the workforce live within the area and being integrated in the community. During construction, there will be an accommodation camp planned that is going to be on site with little impact to hopefully the communities, or good impact only. It will be a full service camp, or is proposed to be one of those camps, single story modular buildings with dormitories, obviously washrooms, kitchens, and so on, dining facilities, self-contained, with domestic waste being planned to transport it off-site. And after the construction phase, this camp would be decommissioned and only used during construction. Next slide, please. This slide tells us what we've heard. We had numerous engagements and obviously our open houses that were very well attended. This one is specifically what we heard in Clearwater. Just picking a few things out, the big thing was, or the major questions were, when is the work starting? When are the opportunities coming along? So a lot of the things that we heard is a lot of excitement and a lot of positive feedback, people wanting to start to work. So that was great. Also questions about training, education for youth and adults alike. Uranium always came up as inquiries, questions about that. We always say we're not a uranium mine. We don't plan to mine uranium. Obviously, we are a copper mine, but we are always already now we are testing for uranium and yeah, keeping everybody in the loop about that. All of these comments, that is part of our early engagement process with the Environmental Assessment Office of the province. And during that early stage, we will respond to all of those concerns. And then next steps, we have some more fun things coming up. We are engaging with, or the EAO, Environmental Assessment Office of the province of BC, and the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada. They are planning, or they are having open houses. September 4th is a virtual one between 12 and 2, and an in-person one on September 10th, again at Dutch Lake Community Center, where we had ours in June, between 4 and 7. So everybody has opportunity to come and comment on all kinds of things that they, and ask questions, of course. The public comment period is already open. You can see this picture on the right. This is the EPIC website. On this website, everybody can comment on the project, ask questions, and so on. And this will again then be funneled into our what we heard documents. Coffee and Conversation is on every third Wednesday of every month in Barrie at our office. So we're inviting everyone. If you're driving through at that time, please come in, have a coffee with us, chat with us. And overall, the site investigation program up on the mountain, as well as environmental baseline studies, have been going on all summer. I'm also going to be with an information table at the summer stage again this week. I was there last week. It was quite. I had to applaud the Clearwateranians because they were sitting there in the rain and nobody left, listening to music, and I was there too, and they were very interested. So I'm going to be there too if somebody wants to come and chat. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Herring.
So in terms of the timeline, I mean, obviously we have like 5 years of assessment, you guys had said, or ballpark that anyways, and 2 years in approval and permits. For us to build a significant amount of housing in this community, it takes a lot longer than that, generally, right? There have been bursts in Clearwater's history where housing was developed. So it's of pretty critical importance to us that we get to the point where we start talking about amenity contributions or contributions to infrastructure in order to facilitate housing development in the community as early as possible in this process. So I just wanted to flag that. Just like we saw with Trans Mountain, the vulnerable people of our region are disproportionately impacted by these projects because they are already in tenuous housing situations. So as rents go up in relation to these projects, yes, the projects bring a lot of money, but that money isn't evenly distributed across our community. Seniors on fixed incomes, people who are in sort of substandard housing right now, their rents are poised to go up significantly if we can't build the infrastructure necessary to support the workers involved in these projects. So the earlier we can get to that point of talking about infrastructure contributions, the easier this is going to go for our community. So I just wanted to flag that.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I know it's an active concern, and it is difficult. We have to go through the environmental assessment and permitting before we know if this is an approved project. So what we are committed to is ongoing communication. We are meeting with Jerry at True Consulting as he's working on your reports as well in community planning, and so we're willing to have conversations with the information we know at the time. A part of us coming here today is that we've entered the process, which is a huge milestone, and we're open to continuing conversation.
Further questions? Councillor Bratton and then Councillor Sim.
I have a question about the testing for uranium. What's the process for that?
So I'm not the subject matter expert on this, but uranium is a naturally occurring mineral. And so it is a part of our baseline testing. And so there are levels, and again, I'm not the subject matter expert. At the open houses, there will be more subject matter experts who can go into the details of it, but I can tell you that we, as part of the historical data, it's been tested and will continue to be tested.
Are there concerns to residents of Avonby while you're testing for uranium?
Are there, sorry, can you help?
Is there concerns for residents if your minerals, if they get jostled? Is it dangerous? I honestly don't know, but I do know uranium isn't great for, cancer patients and different things. Do we have a concern at all while that's in
None
the
of our
process?
testing has created any concerns. I know there was a proposed uranium mine in Birch Island in the past, but we are not that ore body, and we continue to test for it. And so it'll be a part of information, I believe, in the future and it'll be, because it's so important to community, I think it'll be something that we continuously talk about as well.
And one more, do you plan to possibly hang out in Vavenby for any of your coffee times? They can go online and they can come to Barrier, but because they are the community that is highest impacted, possibly it might make,
You have future presentations. Yeah, I know you've done presentations in Vavenby specifically for Vavenby.
Yeah, we started in Vavenby intentionally because they are the most impacted. EAO selected the location for the in-person open house, but we're at the very beginning of this process. And so we're very open to suggestions on hosting smaller presentations with other organizations, hosting smaller things here in Clearwater or in Vavenby. So open to suggestions on what might best serve community members. Sorry. Yes, the coffee and conversations in Barrier is just one thing that we're trying, and it's just because that's where our project office is. But we're very open to suggestions on if there are things that work. We'd be, now that we have Ursula, it's a lot more easier to. Just like her attending the music in the park on Thursday evenings, having more representation this way as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Sim.
Thanks very much. I just want to pull on the thread that was referred to in the presentation, where you noted that the goal was to hire local and regional communities. What's your timeline for implementing some workforce training in advance of the project?
So that's something that through this process we would have to have conversations on to design and build something that works for community. It's not something that we can do in isolation. It's working with organizations, universities, training institutes, as well as the community to find something that works.
Right, and so supplemental with that, because, for example, CSS has got a number of excellent trades programs, et cetera. That's done under the umbrella of SD 73. So you would look at a broad range of potential community partners as you embark on that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And that's just based off my experience with my past employer that...
Excellent, thank you. Are there any further questions? I did have the opportunity to talk to both Cora and Ursula last week before the TNRD meeting, so I had most of my questions answered. One of them, which was of concern to the community, was the size of the camp, and that the camp is actually located on the actual footprint of the mine site. The number of roughly 2,200 people, that's not necessarily 2,200 people at once, that's phased.
Yeah, that's over a 2 to 3 year period of time. So based off our information, the peak may be 900 required at one time, but it's shift work. And so the camp would accommodate the need for the workforce.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for putting that on record. Thank you for your time, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having us. Have
Thank
a good
you.
afternoon.
Bye-bye. Thank you for being so patient, Mr. Thiessen. Come on up. Dwayne Thiessen, Evergreen Acres, in relation to the Evergreen Acres Seniors Housing Society, has a short presentation for us so we can understand what's going on there.
It's up. Okay. Good
afternoon, Mayor Blackwell and members of the council, and thank you for the opportunity to provide you and staff an overview of our organization and its purpose. I'm Dwayne Thiessen, the current chair of Evergreen Acres Senior Housing Society, and my colleague with me today is Kate Cullen, the administration manager of Evergreen Acres, to assist with questions pertaining to our operations. I'm not the expert, she is. Our current board is made up of 7 members: myself, Kathy Herring, David Beck, Pearl McCloney, Heather McClellan, Linda McKenzie, and Marnie Burnell. We're here today in response to council's approving a change in the tax exemption from a 3-year to a 1-year in October of 2024, and the request to provide organization information. So briefly, who we are. Established in 1974, Evergreen Acres Senior Housing Society is a registered nonprofit organization with charitable status and file each year with the Charities Directorate. The primary purpose of our society is to provide, construct, hold, maintain, and operate affordable, independent housing for seniors and low to modest incomes. Okay. When it was first established back in 1974, it was also assisting seniors in other North Thompson Valley residents facing health challenges, to have choices related to their living arrangements, health services, and quality of life. Some of that is, for example, we used to have an in-house meal program, and that no longer exists. To foster a community with service providers and community at large together to help people remain in their own homes for as long as possible, and to receive bequests, legacy, donations, gifts, funds, property from all sources, and to hold and invest such funds and property, to administer and distribute such funds and property for the purposes of the society. So established back in 1974, in 1976, what we call our main building was built and opened, and it provided 16 units for people's residence. In 1983, Pine Manor came into existence with an additional 6 units, and in 2010, Ed Buck Manor was established with another 10 units. And most recently, in 2020 and 2022, we brought in Larch Court and Cedar Place, which gave us another 40 units for residents, for a total of 72 units as of today. And just a footnote, we pretty well are at capacity. If we were to try and build more units, we would have to go up. Okay, we do not have the properties on the existing site today. Also in 2022, the Evergreen Senior Center recreational space with full kitchen facilities and is also equipped with an emergency 75 kilowatt generator large enough to provide air conditioning or heat, all kitchen appliances, and live outlets for items such as oxygen units all at the same time. So it's a great facility for any ESS requirements. Very important is to provide you a background of our rental rates. With the exception of Pine Manor, all our units have an operating agreement with BC Housing Rental. Income is based on the following. The main building, rent caps are currently in place at $665 a month. That rate includes their hydro. Rent is calculated at 30% of the resident's gross income up to the maximum of $665. Pine Manor has a set rent of $734 a month, and all residents are eligible for SAFER grant. This is because Pine Manor is owned outright by Evergreen Housing Society, okay? And there is no operating agreement currently with BC Housing, but it continues to be operated using the same principles. And therefore, Evergreen Acres subsidize the tenants. SAFER, for those that do not know the term, is Shelter Aid for Elderly Renters, and BC Housing provides funding directly to the tenant, and they are not paying more than 32% of their income for that residence. Ed Buck Manor, it's land owned by the DOC and buildings by the Provincial Rental Housing Corporation with a long-term operating agreement with Evergreen Acres and BC Housing. This property is not included in any tax assessment for Evergreen Acres. Large Court and Cedar Place, our newest facilities, under the operating agreement with BC Housing, Evergreen Acres are to have 20% of our units, which is 8, with a deep subsidy, where rent is based on income. Tenants' income cannot exceed the guaranteed minimum for seniors in BC. These rents are currently ranging from $156 a month to a high of $567. 50% of our units, 20 of them, are rented above deep subsidy but below low-end market. Rates are currently calculated at 30% of the gross income, and these rents currently are $563 to $900 per month. And 30% of the units, 12 of them, again, calculated at 30% of the income, but are all in excess of $900 per month to a current maximum of $1,760. A quick summary of our budgets. This is our current year of 2024 to 2025. Our revenues are essentially $964,000 a year. Our expenses are $935,000 a year, giving us a net profit of $29,000. The two interesting lines in there that you might be curious about, the loan was $100,000 to provide an upgrade to our main building, which was the original building back in 1976, and we had to replace all the sewer system in that building, okay? All our sewer and water, the water comes from the DOC, all our sewer goes to the DOC, and subsequently, we do pay $33,000 a year in water and sewer. So, to understand, these restrictions on rents ensure that persons with low income are able to afford safe, comfortable housing, which is subsidized by BC Housing. Evergreen Acres is in a unique situation where the property cannot be sold. There is a Section 219 covenant registered against the properties. The current outstanding mortgage is $8 million with an assessed value of $7,157,000. And I have to say right here and now that if it was not for the community force, $1.6 million that went into Larch and Cedar, it probably would not have happened. Although our budgets show a profit of about $29,000, many things can disrupt this in any given year. Additional maintenance needs, suite upgrades, repairs when tenants leave so that we get them prepared for the new tenants, and appliance replacements. For example, we just spent $4,300 on new washer and dryers for a couple of units. As indicated in the District of Clearwater bylaw 308, the year 2024, the estimated tax exemption is $27,000. Okay, which is essentially what our profit is. With costs increasing for everything lately, and the fact that we cannot run a deficit, the additional cost of taxes, if implemented, would have to come from BC Housing, or Evergreen Acres would be running a deficit, which we're not allowed to do. We cannot levy additional costs onto tenants due to rent controls. So with that said, Evergreen Acres would really like to invite the council and staff, date to be determined, convenient on your schedule, to come and visit and tour the facility so you gain a real appreciation for what we have in our community.
Can I just add
Yep.
one other thing? The surplus that is noted in the budget information here, is more than likely largely to do with Ed Buck. That is a different situation where we were given, well, the Provincial Rental Housing Corporation owns the building, the district owns the land. We have an operating agreement that goes for 60 years, so in another 42 years, we will take over that property. But we don't make a mortgage payment on it currently, but we do take care of all expenses on it. And we are in a surplus position with Ed Buck at this moment, and that is most likely what the predominance of that overage is. We have 5 different phases. We have to treat them as 5 different items, and we have separate budgets for each phase and separate rules for each phase, and yeah, it gets a little complicated sometimes.
Thank you for that. I learned way more. I had no idea some of the details and what you do and how it all works. So that's really fantastic that you came to visit us with this presentation. There's a lot learned there. Questions from council on any of this? Go ahead, Councillor Frizzle.
What's your wait list on Evergreen Acres?
Officially, according to BC Housing, it's something like 115 people.
150 people.
115, 1-5.
Okay.
However, it is our mission, and we prioritize people from the North Valley.
Yeah, because that 115 is throughout BC?
That's, yeah, that includes everybody that just goes, oh, put down everything, I'll move there. I'm sorry, but people who are living in the lower mainland don't want to move here for the most part, or they have the funds to go and buy themselves a nice house. Critically, what I would consider our wait list is probably closer to 10 to 15 at any given time.
In the area.
We generally turn over about 7 units per year. We're already at 5. And I've got another 2 that I'm expecting to turn over sort of any day. They're waiting to get beds in long-term care.
One more question.
Yep, go ahead, Councillor.
What's the vetting? Do you have a vetting criteria for?
Well, the nice thing about it being a small town is I can ask around and get a good idea on who would be a good tenant. We also have, especially with the 2 new phases, we have, low, deep subsidy, middle income, higher income. So if somebody moves out and they're in the higher income bracket, I can't go and necessarily take the next one on the list because their income might not be enough to fill that spot.
Oh.
So it's not always that's one of the things is how long they've been on the list. Sometimes people get on our list and almost instantly are in because we happen to have a vacancy and someone's in desperate need to be out of where they are. So it's not a straightforward thing, oh, next person on the list, off you in. Yeah, it's a little more complicated than that. And
Yeah, that was informative. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions? Councillor Bratton and then, Councillor Herring, then Councillor Bratton.
So I'm just curious, if you guys were to have like a critical system failure, like a large issue at Evergreen, and that, high cost to fix it, would that be something that you'd be paying for with a reserve of some kind, or would you guys be going to BC Housing to fund something like that? How would you deal with a large impact like that?
Well, it depends on which building, in
gotcha.
lots of ways. We have, as Dwayne said, the Pine Manor building is a 6-unit. We're not beholden to anybody for it, and we also don't have any knight in shining armor coming to rescue if we have an issue. That said, we do have fairly healthy reserves for each of our different phases. So it becomes it's a bit of a juggling act. We would probably go to BC Housing for most things. That's what we did with the sewer replacement. So we were looking at almost 50-year-old cast iron pipes, and they were threatening to really make a mess. But we were lucky enough to get it done, and BC Housing eventually is going to give us the money which we've already paid for. But yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Should be coming soon.
Go ahead, Councillor Bratton.
Oh, shoot. Oh, yeah, no. It was there and then it was gone. For the the art. Oh my goodness, your
gallery?
Yes, and the other spot that you can rent out. Do you have? Do you rent it out? Are you able to get income from that?
Yes, we get
Okay.
$250 a month right now from the art gallery.
Oh, okay.
We rent the other side to the seniors, Wells Gray Seniors Society.
Oh, okay.
They pay, I just put it up after about 10 years at $12.50 a day. We're now charging $15 a day, big raise. Yeah, so we get.
The point is,
You get a
we have a
pittance.
facility that
Yep.
we give back to the community with.
Yeah, pretty much.
If there are tenants that want to have we just recently, one of our tenants lost her husband, and she's going to be having her memorial service at the hall, and it will be at no cost to her.
Okay, because she's a resident.
Because she's a resident, yeah.
Okay.
And I have some certain amount of discretion that if it's something that the residents really would get a lot out of, lots of times I don't actually charge much of a fee, if one at all.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Sim.
For your financials, you had said that there was the income revenue, which was the $1,000. Is that offset in the expense line of the sewer for $95,000?
Correct.
Okay.
The sewer ended up actually costing between extra maintenance hours by our maintenance person. We had to do a little concrete work, another couple of other things, that it was over $105,000 in total.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. And the second question is how is it managed with BC Housing for the cost of living increase? So for example, the rents there, I think, are pretty enviable, but you've got Hydro that's certainly seen some increased costs, et cetera. So how is that managed? Do you go to BC Housing?
Hydro's not included except in the main building and in Pine Manor.
Okay, so I'm just saying that that's an example. So when you've got operational costs that are increased, how is that managed? Like, when was the last time that there was an assessment of the rent caps, for example?
Those are looked at every year. They go up by the amount allowed by the residential tenancy branch.
Okay. So
that
you do
there's-
see increases. That's what I'm
Those
asking.
increases. I do a budget every year, and I can usually get between a 3% and 6% budget increase without any issues. If it's anything over 10%, I have to rationalize it, why we need this to go up. Like several years ago, we had kind of fallen behind in what the district was increasing the utilities costs for. So we went over budget one year, but we fixed it and caught up the next year. And that sort of thing happens a lot.
Right. And my final one is, as we move into, more challenging economic situations, is the board, do they take on any fundraising, or has it been that it's been so well managed that you're able to look at the cost? Like $29,000 is not much of a buffer.
No, it's not. And we don't go out and do fundraising per se.
Mhm.
We will go after grants.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further questions? This was outside of the operations at Evergreen, but you did sort of touch on it, and I kind of have a question on it, because it might be a point for council to advocate on. The next phase of housing beyond Evergreen, which is assisted living, and then what we have in the back of the hospital. What is your sense of the need for that? I don't think we're coming anywhere close, but you're going to probably have an opinion on that.
Oh, yes. It would be, there's two parts to that, actually. The one is sort of the pre-Evergreen, if I may. If we had someone that would, like a developer, would come in and do, maybe a 10, 20 unit condo development, single floor. My mother-in-law lived in one in Quesnel. It was amazing. Where they actually buy in. We have a number of people that, if that was available, would do that. But they want a place where they don't have to haul wood, they don't have to cut grass, they don't have to shovel snow. So that would be one thing that would not be in a social housing sort of move. We did look at moving into more of a assisted living, but the paperwork and the amount of regulations and whatnot are huge. And on a little, 7 volunteer board.
We do not have the structure to do that.
Just, you know, there's privacy issues, but what do you see for people that are leaving your building, roughly the need is in town? I know we're shipping people out of town
Yeah.
that can no
There
longer
are-
stay.
We often have people that stay longer at Evergreen than they should.
Okay.
And is, you know, fortunately, we're lucky in many cases where they've got very involved families. And so they are carrying that burden. Because it's not our mandate to do anything other than housing.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank you.
I would like to see, you know, so much more, but
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to put it on Evergreen. Sorry, but I think there's an opportunity for somebody that does want to come to town to develop, to create that next phase where there is assisted in-house living or
well,
communal living.
we don't need 100.
Don't need
That's,
that.
that's,
Yeah,
we had somebody that was quoting you.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I
no,
don't
100.
think he was, I think he was
20 or
making up-
30, potentially more, potentially.
Yeah.
Probably a better number? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, 20 is
I don't
probably
remember saying
roundabout.
100, and if I did, I was a
Yeah.
liar, so we'll just go with that.
No, I don't think you actually said it. He
Okay.
just, yeah. It was an interesting conversation.
Okay.
It should be noted, we have an aging community.
Yes.
Okay, unless the mine goes in, there's gonna be a higher need for facilities such as ours.
Yes, yeah.
And there are times when it, I realize why I really love this job. Because I've been able a couple of times to get people into housing, into safe and secure and healthy housing. And to see some of them just blossom is, you know, makes my day worthwhile.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and presenting.
Thank you.
That was very, very good. Thank you. Okay, because this is a great long meeting we're gonna have here, moving on to item 8.1, minutes of the regular council meeting held July 8th, 2025. Councilor Sim moved, thank you. Seconder on accepting these minutes, Councilor Herring. Any errors or omissions? If you do see them, please forward them to staff. If not, all those in favor, and that passes. Adoption of the minutes of committee meetings, the committee of the whole recommendations.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, sorry, yes.
We didn't pass either of these recommendations in the committee of the whole, so we can skip these.
Oh, look at that. See, we're just saving time right there. Nothing under item 10, 11.3, appointment of community members to the Public Art Committee, Advisory Committee, and there's a recommendation there, and I'd like to apologize to the members of the committee. We were supposed to get their names out there and let them know, but we had a little bit of confusion there, and yes, we'd love to appoint them now. So, Councillor Sim,
Motion to approve.
seconder on this, Councillor Frizzle. Any discussion? Looking forward to this. This is a great thing for this community. Yeah. All those in favor? And that passes.
So just a follow-up question is says in here that you're going to reach out to the community members and let them know, which is great. At what point are you going to be able to establish a series of meeting dates? What's the thoughts there?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Sim, through the chair. We are looking to have a mid-September meeting for the first meeting. We'll be reaching out with letters and trying to gauge availability for a mid-September meeting for the inaugural one.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Nothing under 12, 13. I'm going to keep this short because we do have a long meeting today. Two items that I'll note one was obviously meeting TASECO last week, which is a great conversation. And then July 31st, got to turn soil on the new cancer center in Kamloops, which was a big deal and a long time in the works. Councillor Bratton.
I missed the last meeting, and I am now on the Tourism Wells Gray board, and that's very interesting. Holy smokers, they have long meetings, but they are very active, and they have a lot going on, and I'll shorten it. I had a lot I was going to say, but basically they're doing really well, and they're making good money at their store in there. They're looking at doing some renovations out front for accessibility. They had a couple mishaps on the stairs, so they're looking into getting contractors in to fix that. Parks is going to fund that. Fantastic. They happen to hit them on the right day. Crystal Augustine is doing a fabulous job. Claire Hanna is wonderful to work with, and to everybody else on the board. So I'll just cut it off there, but they are doing fantastic. One thing I wanted to mention is headcount is down by 20% through the door, but everybody is booked right up to the end of September fully, meaning all their partners involved. So they're working on trying to figure out, many factors could be at play for that. Demographic, people are Googling as opposed to coming in the building. The bus count is a little bit lower, but they're still coming to town. So they do have a lot of social media influencers coming to town, and that's kind of exciting. So getting our word out there is wonderful. So they're doing great things over there. Just wanted to mention a few things that I was at. Starry Nights used to be a Tourism Wells Gray event. Now it's we have taken it in tandem with them. The district is doing it. Leanne did a fantastic job. Bill Bernier, I don't know how to say that, Berniet, maybe, did a really good presentation, although my grandson wasn't able to sit, so we had to do a little walkabout. And but he was great, and the kids learned a bunch of aspects to that. And although we had the worst thunder lightning storm, and we left in the nick of time, the next night when we did our own movie night at home was fantastic to watch the meteors, so it was great. Swimming lessons, I'd just like to do a shout out to Leanne and to Queria Creed, who has taken on, Leanne's organizing it. Queria is the instructor along with Cleo Coates. Fantastic. I just have to do a little personal shout out because my grandson wasn't going to finish, and she was able to spend a ton of time with him and focused on getting his skills, and he finished, and he loved it and will go back again. So she just did a bang up job, and so thanks so much, Queria. And thanks to the parks contractor for fixing the ladder on the dock. It was only down 2 days, and so they did a good job. And they also have put up life rings. There was a concern of people having issues at the beach because it drops off so quickly at the far end. And I had people inquire about possible life rings and maybe some signage to go along with it. Maybe that'll be down the road, but the life rings are up, and that's great. They're on the hut. And hockey school is coming up 23rd to 28th. The marathon is on August 23rd. Cruising Clearwater is on 24th. And movie night at the high school is also on the 23rd. So we're busy this month. And that's all I have.
And do you know what the movie is?
I did. No, I didn't write it.
Somebody will know. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that report. Councillor Frizzle.
Thank you. Back in July, I got an email from Interior Health as seniors coordinator inviting me to a Interior Health climate change and health session, and they're focusing on better understanding the region's ability to adapt to climate change and minimize health impacts. They were exploring current climate adaptation initiatives, barriers and opportunities, and exploring future collaboration and understanding climate events. So with that, I went, well, why am I getting invited? So I invited Mr. Prime over there because he's our climate guy. It was just me that was invited to that, and with Alcid there, it was I thought we had a good meeting. We discussed a lot of things about climate. He was able to give them a understanding of what the district is doing, and I asked them to attend a council meeting in the future. It was probably a year away because they're doing through the whole interior, but they are looking at understanding how climate change is affecting all aspects of the communities throughout BC. So it should be really interesting to hear what they have to say when they've got everything done. So just wanted to let you know I did that. I was going to remind them about the half marathon, but you already did that. Library, their last day here is on Saturday, and they'll be reopening the library in September, so that's very nice. The seniors will have their room back. And I just wanted to do a shout out about George Briscoe, the general manager for the Wells Grey Community Forest. He's now gone. He's retired from here and gone to Kamloops to do his job there with the Ministry of Forests, and he will be missed. But we do have a new general manager, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to do as a.
And I believe that's Casey McCauley.
Casey McCauley, thank you.
Yeah,
I forgot
yeah.
his name there.
And he was one of the originators of the community forest back in the day. I don't know if I've ever met him, but we've connected online. Anyway, so good. Thank you for your presentation. Councillor Herring.
Nothing for me, but I do want to give a quick shout out to all the businesses and the activity going on down in the Brookfield area. It's super exciting seeing that area revitalize and get more people moving around the area. I think we're probably going to have to move the downtown pole this year.
I am absolutely okay with that. And yes, I have been to the new grocery store and I congratulate them on there. I bought some hot sauce that was, it's pretty hot. I'm going to go with that. It was good. So,
I do like that store.
Councillor McKenzie got called away on urgent business. Councillor Matheson.
Not much report. Still recovering from my trip and trying to play catch up.
Thank you. And Councillor Sim. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bratton.
Can I interject? The movie's Moana 2.
Okay. I haven't seen Moana once, so I'm going to have to play catch up. Councillor Sim.
Just on the heels of Councillor Herring, and just the congratulations to that area of town, and how Brookfront has really created some invigoration. What was interesting, though, is how businesses are starting to work together. So Wells Gray Outfitters, who asked for a night, brought in, then did a video and did a cross promotion. It was really helpful. And one of the things that's coming up, and hopefully we can maybe find a venue under economic development, because this one's easy, is how to do more Google reviews and activating the community itself, doing more Google reviews, and how that inspires people finding different businesses. And so when that has been activated, for example, Brookfront, they actually had somebody who came up from Kamloops to do shopping because they had some specialty items that they couldn't find anywhere else. But that's the power of the Google reviews. So I think that that's a really easy one that could come under some economic development that way. And then also just to comment, in addition to everything that's going on this weekend, there's also the Rotary Golf Tournament. There's 167 entries to the Candle Creek Marathon. If anybody is interested in helping with parking, they would love an extra set of hands. And then also just to acknowledge staff and the great idea about the wayfinding signs in Clearwater. It's just added such an element of glam, and just it's so easy. And I know, having gone to a million trillion different communities looking for, well, where is the sportsplex, and looking for the smoke that comes out, this sign is really terrific. So I think that project was beautifully executed and wonderfully thoughtful. So thank you.
For clarity, the half marathon is Saturday?
It's on Saturday.
It's on Saturday?
On Saturday,
so,
yeah.
Registration Friday night.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
so if anybody's interested, they're just looking for help at the parking lot,
Get a hold of
745.
Juanita. Who'd be the contact point?
You could contact me.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Or Lynn,
there you
that's
go.
right.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your reports. Up next, where are we? Because I just lost my... Oh, there we are. That's the one right in front of me. That's how this usually works. Item 16.1, Valley Connector Transit Service Expansion. You do have a staff report in front of you, and I'm assuming staff will speak to this a little bit. But I guess we'll be making a decision at some point on this. About this, we have to do it actually fairly quickly because of deadlines, but
Yeah.
so just from this, I mean, I guess we have a couple of options here, but Mr. Prime, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I do believe we still have Danica White. Thank you for hanging in there through all those presentations, Danica. The transit is delegated to the District of Clearwater just as part of our letters patent. We didn't really get a say in the matter. 2008, through the incorporation, it was gifted to us. It's part of that, though. There is a lot of team players in this event. It's in partnership with BC Transit. It's in partnership with TNRD, obviously partnership with Yellowhead Community Services, who operates the actual transit fleet under a master operating agreement. So there's quite a few different stakeholders involved. So as part of this, we did identify earlier in the year and even into sort of late last year in terms of if we were to look at service expansions for anything, which would make sense. And none of the local service necessarily was at the top of our mind, but the Valley Connector was definitely always at the top of our mind. just based on its ridership, it was often full. They're often having to turn down people who were calling in for seats on the bus. So that was a natural thing for BC Transit to look at. So they did take it away and talk to YCS, sort of go through those processes to see what those costs would be and what would kind of look like. That came to us in July, early July. Didn't make the July meeting, but this is where it's coming here today. We do need to know by September 30th whether or not we want to proceed. That's why we're kind of having to do this a bit cart before the horse in terms of getting some confirmation, and then we're going to be doing quite a bit more engagement and consultation with TNRD, with the District of Barrier, the other stakeholders that are paying into this service. The service is ultimately 100% funded by TNRD. We pay it through the requisition that comes kind of back. It's a bit of a circle there, I suppose. There is room under the current tax requisition, under the current TNRD bylaw. It's the greater of 40,000 or a tax rate of 0.068 per $1,000 of assessed value. It's currently, the 2025 tax rate was only 0.0097. So there is room there. It's not going to require an additional referendum or assent procedure. However, obviously if we're asking for any additional funds, that is a requirement to certainly engage with those stakeholders. At the end of the day, as Danica was saying, the increased revenue is likely to offset this quite a bit. Staff's recommendation is certainly looking at the 3-day expansion as a Tuesday to Saturday service makes the most sense in our viewpoint. The offset revenue, it's going to be a very minimal impact across all the stakeholders here. Certainly, there's going to be a communication if we do move forward with this down into 2026 and the additional service. Is there any additional questions? And either myself or Danica can kind of get there.
Okay. Any questions? Thoughts on this? 1, 3. Councillor Sim?
I think with the clarity of what you're talking about with the finances, I wasn't necessarily understanding that in the columns. It looked like the column was just for the District of Clearwater for the sake of this report. So understanding that would be divided between the 3 communities makes a big difference. And so with that division of cost, is that what the District of Clearwater would need to come up with through taxation, or is something else? Like, help me understand the money on this.
Who's going to be better here? Danica, maybe myself? I'll try. Okay. So the additional 51,000 would be on top of the currently
74, is that right, in total?
40,000? Was that
40?
That's currently allocated. That is paid for in full by the TNRD. And then the TNRD requisitions the funds through the District of Barrier, through areas A, as well as area B and O. And that's divided up by mill rate. So we pay the TNRD, and then the TNRD then pays for the service. So,
okay, so let's go to the bottom line. What does the District of Clearwater pay, if anything, from the taxpayer?
I'd have to ask.
The way I understand it is the TNRD pays 100% in our financials, but they probably take that. I would have to refer back to our Kevin or Sherry, but I think they bring it back over to and charge each one. The TNRD rate comes through on the TNRD rate. So in our
it's not necessarily
100% up front, up to the $40,000, and then they bring it back, and it gets charged out to each individual resident.
Okay, so on that, Mr. Prime, what you're saying, because there's that small ceiling that's still got some availability, that would be able to absorb this proposed additional cost.
That's correct, Councillor Sim, through the chair. They wouldn't need to go to an additional approval process to increase the service level, because regional districts, if they need to go above that bylaw, they would have to go through either an alternative approval process or a referendum for additional services, which they don't have to go through in this scenario because there is headroom there.
So essentially, the increased opportunity, which would be of huge benefit to our community, would be at no cost to the taxpayers.
If I could answer that, no, that's not exactly correct.
All right.
They have the ability to tax up to X amount of money. They're not at the TNRD does for the function. They're not anywhere near that limit. So they can increase the taxation without hitting that limit, because they got a fair bit of headroom on that, what that limit is. But taxation will go up because this is going to cost, if the estimates are correct, $51,000 for the function. So, and that will get charged to local governments through taxation. So everybody's taxation who's a participant in that system will. The unknown part is what the revenue side, and the revenue admittedly is just a broad estimate of what that revenue is, because we don't know what the uptake is going to be, and there may be a bit of a curve to it where people get used to having a system there that they can use 5 days a week, and maybe the ridership will grow on it based on that. But essentially we're adding a fairly significant amount of capacity there, so it may take a while for it to get fully utilized. Will taxes go up? Yes. They will. On the actual transit function, the taxes will go up from $40,000 for the Valley Connector up to $91,000 for the Valley Connector, divided among those partners. And I'm sorry, I should have brought that split with us so you could say what's the actual impact on Clearwater versus other towns. I didn't bring that, and that was a bit of an oversight on my part. I apologize.
Well, the purpose of questions, so the fact that you know it, thank you very much. And I guess the only other follow-up is if that's just for the Valley Connector, what is the taxation for the Clearwater Loop? Like, I'm trying to get a handle on how much are we paying for transit services in our community and what this would mean.
I think Ms. Glassen's looking that one up. I also noted in Danica's report that the estimates for revenue were actually based on the whole system as it currently exists, not specifically on the Valley Connector system. So these, as she stated, and I would agree with that, because of the uptake on the Valley Connector service, it's generally very high. I don't think we might have a better set of numbers, more positive set of numbers as far as income goes here, which would help reduce that overall cost. It's kind of what I'm hearing, but yes, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, there is going to be a curve until people start to utilize this to the 75% or better probable usage.
But has there even been a model where it's actually been cost recovery? Like, I haven't seen that.
I don't think there ever is cost recovery.
And so I'm looking at like $2,600 or whatever's in there for our share of whatever the 19,000 would be. I mean, it's not there. So I'm just really sensitive about what we are asking for, regardless of how important. And if we had Greyhound back or something, we wouldn't be in this situation. And there's lots of people that actually need it, the opportunity to be better served for healthcare appointments, etc. I mean, it's paramount. But what is the cost, especially given the Valley Loop? And just being attuned to that. And it's not a cost recovery. And I know that the district is trying to take on other initiatives with other programs within the district that do have cost recovery. But if this isn't it, then let's name it approximately what the citizens will end up paying.
Go ahead, Councillor Herring.
So I just want to get a handle, where in the strategic plan document, which we have on page 125, where do we see a transit expansion fitting within the strategic plan of Clearwater? Is this something that we've identified as a priority in the past, or is this just a flash in the pan, there's an opportunity, let's do it? I'm just wondering, I feel like this came up, it rose up in the last couple meetings. I'm not sure where it came from in terms of strategic vision.
Danica is still on the line. Maybe she can answer a question while staff are looking at things. Danica, just sort of maybe for our rural transit systems, what is generally the percentage of subsidy or deficit that they run versus income? Yeah.
Sure, I can speak to that. So for the Clearwater Transit System for the last fiscal year, operating cost recovery is about 9.4%. That is based on the total cost of the system, which is about $368,000. That's provincial and municipal contributions. Total revenue is about $30,000 a year. So for rural systems, I'd say that's pretty average. I typically see sort of 5 to 10% for rural systems. Some of your more urban systems like Kamloops gets up into the 20% systems, and they're a very high ridership busy route or busy routes. Nobody goes into transit to be cost recovery. It is not a money-making business. It is highly subsidized. And in BC, I think we're lucky that it's subsidized by local and provincial governments. And then we get a fair number of federal grants for larger infrastructure projects as well that certainly help out. I will say that the Valley Connector is, I'd say, probably one of the most cost recovered routes, certainly in Clearwater and in my experience in other systems as well. So if you're just looking at routes, that one is very, I'd say a very efficient use of public funds. And it really comes down to each local government's values about transit and what the purpose of transit is for every local community, and whether that is to try and bring the most transit for the most people, or whether that is to try and bring transit and transportation access to the widest area or to people who are the most vulnerable. And those are some of the value decisions that vary with each council. And right now, that's why we have a mix, I think, of, I'd say, your lower performing local routes that are very important to those who need it, but ridership is a lot lower. And then you also have these more higher performing sort of commuter type routes that are certainly more profitable, not profitable, but closer to cost recovery.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. That was kind of what I was looking for as far as answers. Looking to staff now if they have any further comments. Good.
So with regards to the question about strategic plan, that's a great question. And obviously better transit fits tangentially in a number of areas, right? It fits with healthcare, people needs appointment. It fits with the whole community vibe theoretically, if people can come up to the community and see what's going on and spend a day. And it fits in a number of areas, but it's not directly a strategic initiative of getting more people here. But the driver here is, as Danica has been talking about, we're close to capacity on it. It provides options for residents. It's more of it's more of an operational issue where we have every year the opportunity with BC Transit to say, hey, do we want to make changes? So we know that it's a good thing allowing people the options. Do we know what the utilization is? No, we don't know exactly what that's going to be. And council has the ability to say, let's not do 3, let's do 1 day, if that's how you would prefer to do it. That is council's right. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of we have a very well-utilized system. It's subsidized significantly by the province because it's BC Transit and they put a lot of dollars into it, and it provides opportunities for the community. Let's put it in front of council. So that's why this came forward.
Questions, comments?
So I just want to get back to the total cost of transit for the district.
So for our budget for 2025, the revenue that we are seeing for the loop is under $1,000.
So that's the revenue of $1,000 for the.
The expenses are about $23,000. Yeah.
That's community loop, not doesn't count what we're
For
talking
the
about.
connector, we're seeing revenue of about $6,000, $6,500 around there. And our expenses are $32,000, and we are seeing that funded 100% from the TNRD.
5 to 6 to 1 with partners, okay. Yeah.
Okay, so translating this is that what I see is that we are essentially paying for the District of Clearwater 23,000, but not the 32,000.
No.
I keep getting it confused because I keep hearing like, and then the TNRD pays. So if I were stopped, how much of my taxes is going towards the transit system?
There is another transit, general transit, which is the revenue is. Let me just have a quick look here. It's split 60-40 between the TNRD and the District of Clearwater. So the TNRD is paying about $40,000, and we would be paying the remainder, and that's about $157,000 of expenses.
So what you just said is we pay $157,000.
So there is a general transit that we pay, and it's split 60-40 between the TNRD and the district. And the split, the total cost of that system is $160,000 a year. Of that, the funding is 60-40. 40 for the TNRD. Yeah. In the 2025 budget, we have some of that coming out of a reserve, a transit reserve. It's not an easy answer. Had I known what this question ahead of time, I could have provided it.
Actually, I didn't know it was. I didn't know what kind of a rabbit hole. So you are so good to be indulging this question. But it just seems that we have a lot of discussions around transit and the importance, the value, and all of these things. But as we've just heard, it's $27,000 that Evergreen Acre needs. It's now the transit that's required. And then, when we look back to our community input that we've had, people are like, we need roads and economic development. And we've only got so big a pie. So just really trying to understand, and to the point, that our guest has said, it's what are our value-based decisions? And it's just getting there because it is best value for citizens.
Councillor Frizzle.
Interchangeable.
Not just Councillor Frizzle.
As you're talking, I was sort of thinking about, if we went the 5 days, I know there's a lot of people that take that bus to go do doctor's appointments and whatnot, but there also is a lot that don't because they can't get their appointment on a Tuesday or Thursday. So that means that if we had it the 5 days, those people would use it, and maybe it would be used more. Just trying to figure out a way to make more money.
But I don't see the cost recovery ever reaching.
It's not going to be a cost recovery.
And so I look at, what the expenses are, for example, with the Sportsplex, and we're trying to do that, or our water and sewer. So I'm just trying to get it in conjunction with some of our other services and that we're providing.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to find more money.
Ms. Glassen.
Just pulled up some more information that is more concise. So in the 2025 budget, the District of Clearwater residents are funding $85,000. In future years, if we do not have reserves for the transit system, they would be funding more like $115,000. So that would be like 4%.
And that is also not including this expansion. So that's just looking at what the existing service is. So we could be looking, without reserves, in a few years, of $140,000 to subsidize transit.
Let's call it 115, not 40, 115.
115, okay. Well, I was just looking at the additional, what's being
yes,
required,
true, yes.
right? So that's why I'm saying 140 is because we need to add on to that. It has to be a whole picture in making this decision.
Further comments or questions? Councillor Herring, you look like you're ready.
I see the value to community potential here, but like, as you mentioned, the cost is a big question mark right now. I'm wondering about the jump of 3 days of additional service as a decision, and instead, like focusing on a 1 day trial. Let's say, you do a 1 year, okay, what was our ridership if we're looking at an increase and we're looking at, this being a really well utilized service, even though we've increased by a day, then perhaps we can review in future years. I feel like jumping up 3 that's a big jump right out of the gate, even though you do save some money, by going in scale. But I think one day is the most I'd be comfortable kind of proposing as an increase right now.
You want to make that a motion?
Before you do, if it was only the 1 day, is there another potential window? So if we see success, that this 1 day addition has been absolutely amazing, does that mean in 2026, by September 30th, there would be an opportunity to ask for a continued service increase?
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Johnson. That was my understanding, is every year at a certain time?
Thank you. Yes, this is actually a 3-year proposal in front of us. So we could, if council chose to, you could say, let's add a year, or let's add a day per week this year. Let's schedule another day next year and schedule another day the following year. Or we could hold off and say, no, just let's add 1 day for now. And then next year when the question comes up, look at ridership, look at what the economics of it are, and then make a decision at that point in time. Those would both be valid. And these service improvements and extensions, they come up on an annualized basis, right? And the only downside is if you're putting things in for the current year, as the report suggested from Danica, then you're competing with other communities who are trying to get a service increase, because it's actually a cost increase to the province. So they try to they prioritize where that goes, right? So.
Okay. Thank you. So for me, the critical thing here, and whether it's 1 or 3 nights of additional service, the critical thing here is the ability to do an overnight. And with even the 1 night service, you do have 2 overnights in that. It's not just one. It's Tuesday night and Wednesday night that people can say. What would be the concern though is on the back end, scheduling is going to be interesting, because you could have a lot of pressure on Thursday if people stay 2 nights in Kamloops trying to return to Clearwater. So how all that shakes down is going to be interesting. We actually might lose efficiency depending on how it all works. I'm perfectly fine with going ahead with 1 day, but I think we should go with 1 day. There's so many important factors to this that are not money. There is the factor that we are allowing people better access to healthcare, especially the most vulnerable people. There is a whole thing where we are allowing people that do not have cars better access to other communities for better quality of life. It's not all about direct dollars. It is about better quality of life, better healthcare, better potential for even things like education, better potential for people to do return trips from Kamloops to Clearwater for the day, for events or for visiting people, et cetera, et cetera. And as stated by both Danica and staff, transit systems are subsidized. Transit systems are subsidized worldwide. For-profit transit is things like rail services between big cities with high volumes. We are never going to be that. So, it is a social value decision here as to how much we want to invest it, when, and for whom. We do have to balance that with the bottom line of dollars and pressure on taxation.
So in response to that, and you're absolutely right, because there was a woman who put out a plea and said, I need to get to this, but the bus could bring her back, right? And, it was actually, my husband who said no, that it worked out. He drove her in. So it's a firsthand experience. There's lots of stories of people who don't have the vehicles. There's tons. You raise a really good point about the overnight. Is part of this, is the scheduling possible that it's changed to like a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? So at least 2 nights, two of those opportunities, there's the opportunity to return the next day as opposed to skipping it. Like, is there room for also the scheduling adaptation expectations.
Yeah, my understanding is that the Tuesday to Saturday is the period of which is preferred to operate the bus, but it could be 3 days in a row. It could be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. It could be, yeah. So, and some of that, I mean, we're early in this. The decision for council right now is if we want 1 or 3 and we think this is a worthy service. And then there's going to be a negotiation with our partners, with YCS. There's going to be a discussion with the TNRD and with the District of Barrier as to whether or not this is a workable thing. And we're going to have to do that in an awful hurry to get it across the goal line for the end of September. So, further discussion, Councillor Matheson and then Councillor Frizzle.
Yeah, I've just got some concerns there. My take on this is that we would be better off starting off at the very beginning with the 3-day. In that way, we're not, to my idea, if we have one person, one extra day a week in the middle of the week, Wednesday, whatever, it could be a false positive. We're going to miss those people that need that ride. I would sooner throw out, have it a 5-day service, and if it's not being used to what we expect, we could drop it back to an extra 1 day. Taking it that regard, that way we are catching everybody that needs to use those rides. I know I would have used it a few times, but it didn't run on those days. And by going to 1 day, we still have 2 days in there. And like Mayor Blackwell says, you have an overnighter down there, something like it doesn't work. So we're going to lose those people again. So my take is, with the social value that it brings to our community, why don't we hang it out there for the first little while, put it out for 5, and maybe scale it back if it's not meeting our expectations. I would rather do it that way.
Councillor Frizzle?
That's sort of where I was going as well, as going, doing the 3 days, but maybe we won't use them right away. Is that something we can do? Just say, we've got the 3 years, or the 3 days,
Scale it up.
but we start with just the 1 extra day, and if it's busy, we add the other day. And
in the second year or
Yeah.
so, and that's a question for staff.
Yeah, and
If
that
it's
just-
scalable over time. To go from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5.
I think that's a question better answered by Danica, who understands that scheduling component. Did you hear the question, Danica?
I did, and unfortunately, we can't hang on to provincial funds in that way. What we can do is have a little bit of control over when you'd want to be implementing this service. But when BC Transit goes to the province seeking sort of provincial funds for a fiscal year, we either get it or we don't. And we don't have a way of, I'll say, hanging on to that commitment and then using it or tapping into it at a later date, particularly a later year. So we could probably potentially phase it in over the fiscal year, but we wouldn't be able to phase it in sort of a longer time period, if that makes sense.
Okay. So that sort of answers the question. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments to staff? We've kind of run through this. Does anybody want to make a motion as to, yeah?
Would this, if we said today and we said to go for 3 and then the discussion went to the partners and the partners said, you know what, we're more comfortable with 1, regardless, is it going to come back to the council discussion before the 30th? So if we said 3, but the TNRD said no, or Barrier said no, then what does that mean? Right, so I'm just trying to get the series of events. So is it a way
Or
to
Yellowhead
gauge?
says no, because
Yep,
they,
that's
they
right.
still have to operate it.
That's right. I didn't want to speak for you, sorry. But I like, where does it, like, just because we say 3, it doesn't mean. So when does it come back to the table? So if the motion today is putting it forward for discussion for 3 to be ratified based on what the other funding partners say.
So the follow-up to this, if council passes that motion, is that we will then send that motion down to the regional district along with a letter saying, here's what we would like to see this service increase, and then we would work with the regional district to determine, you know, what do we need to do as far as putting the word out there to the communities. Will we have heard back by September 30th what the results of that? I'm hopeful we could. There's still some time frame there. The mayor may be better able to judge what that time frame would look like.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's another meeting. There's a meeting that would fit for TNRD in September if it needs to come to board for a decision. But I think there's general talking to the mayor of Barrier and talking to one of the EA directors at the last TNRD meeting. There's without understanding the full financials, there is much favor in doing this. 3 is fine. They like 3. They see opportunities there, but I mean, I'm sure they'd be happy with one day. So, Councillor Matheson, you had a question, thought?
I think you answered it.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
So one other component, and this was based on discussions with Christine Peterson from YCS. They said, she told me yesterday there could be some concerns around planning for a Saturday trip. So they would need to do some work on their side. Sometimes Saturdays are more challenging to engage drivers. They would have to look at what they would need, whether they would require some incremental manning, whether that's dispatch or other areas. So that's potentially an issue. If council says we want to see a Tuesday to Saturday service, I think we need to be prepared to hear some feedback, and some of that feedback may be that Saturday is challenging, right?
Okay, thank you. Another consideration. So, I still see some thinking here.
Is it so? Given that, is it an option to do a 2-day edition, or is that just a complication? Well, no, I'm just trying to figure out. Like, we've got 1 or 3.
I think Monday is a challenge, and that's been identified as a challenge by the partners. Yeah. So, could we do 2? I don't know if we could do 2. The proposals right now are 1 and 3. But Mr. Johnson, was that?
I think perhaps we could get some feedback if council's preference is we want to do 3 days. We want a Tuesday to Saturday service. If that's the case, we'll go out and see what feedback we get from that, and it may be just fine, or there may be other considerations, and then provide some of that feedback to council.
Okay, Councillor Matheson.
So if we went ahead with the memorandum of understanding for 3 extra days a week, and the rest of the area, different areas and different municipalities say no, we're going to go with 1, then we have that option of revisiting that, do we not?
I'm going to put that question to Danica. If we do make a request to the province and then it doesn't work for us, is there an option to modify that, Danica?
Yes, absolutely. It's you want to make sure that we're making the biggest funding request to the province that you would potentially want to implement, and then, as you're probably familiar, it's easier to let them know that you don't need their money than it is to ask for any more. So there aren't any, I'd say, negative implications of making a funding request for funding for 3 days a week. And then as we get close to budget day and a better sense of whether this funding submission is approved, and we potentially start talking about implementation, it's certainly possible to then scale back what we're implementing to 2 or even 1 day a week.
Okay,
that was a wonderfully useful answer. Thank you.
We should have led with that.
I should have led with that one. 15 minutes ago, that would have been a wonderfully useful answer. Thank you for that, Danica.
I'll move the motion for 3 days.
So Councillor Sim is moving the motion for 3 days. Do I have a seconder for 3 days? Seconded by Councillor Matheson, with the new understanding that we have. Further discussion or comments?
So I think the only discussion that I would have is that putting forward the motion for 3, just to explore these options and understanding that we are not beholden and we haven't made financial commitments, that it is just a discussion, and this just presents an opportunity for the community and all communities. Absolutely. So thank you very much for enduring and getting us past the finish line with such an eloquent answer.
Thank you. Any further comments? Yes, I think this is going for the 3 is the best option at this point. If we do have to scale it back when more numbers come in, or we have more in-depth conversations with YCS, who's going to run this, and with our partner communities. If we need to scale it back, then yay, and then we get to say to the province that yay, we don't need as much money. But I think in the end, this could be a massive win for the bus riders of this community, and for people that don't ride the bus already at this point, because it does provide an opportunity. If I could go to the TNRD meetings on the bus and come back the next day on a bus and leave my truck at home, not only would it save the TNRD almost $200 in mileage, it would save me having to drive Highway 5 with my vehicle. So I could see doing it myself. Any further comments? If not, all those in favor? And that passes. And thank you to everybody for your time, your work, and your patience on this, because it was a conversation. Thank you, Danica, and have a best rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Do we need a brief break or anything, people? It is 4:30 on the dot. I'm gonna ask for 5 minutes at least, please. So we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. And we'll come back to the agenda. Thank you. And we're moving on to item 16.2, community grant policy. There is a staff report. This is not the one that has been replaced. This is the actual one that was in your agenda. So Ms. Klassen will speak to this, I'm assuming.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this report today is to seek Council's approval of the new community grant policy and to rescind the old former grant and aid policy. In the process of writing the new community grant policy, it was realized that there has been an effect on other guiding documents, which we've talked about before, and there will be more updates coming forward at a later time. Some key enhancements with this new policy framework are that the policy is more flexible. It's improved governance and accountability. It's improved clarity on intergovernmental grants. These improvements modernize the policy to reflect current community needs, support fair and transparent decision-making by council, and ensure public funds are managed responsibly and effectively. Some of the highlights of the report to council is that some of the changes are all highlighted in red. So when you review the policy on page 108 through to, it's 120 something, they're highlighted in red. Since the July 9th meeting, staff has updated the policy in the following areas. Section 3, it has been updated, the definitions. So that's on page 110 and 111. So those definitions have been updated. Section 4.10, here is that staff has added additional text to restrict grants from being used for operating costs and regular replacement capital. Section 6.2, we changed the name to large community grant. So it's clear that it's not a regular community grant of up to $7,500. It's anything over and above that amount. And that just alludes to that we have changed some of the financial limits as per council directions provided earlier. Section 7.2.7. Oh. No, I think we've added 7.2.8 actually. We've added a sentence there where it's at the discretion of council, community grants of, oh no, that's not it either. Added a sentence for routine community grant in kind to be administered at the discretion of the CAO. Oh, 7.3. Yep, 3.7. There we go. Yes, page 116 at the bottom of that page. And of course, in section 8, we've included an evaluation category for the community partner involvement as requested by council. Also, to this grant, we have added new application form and a new evaluation form. Our senior accountant, Ms. Tobin, developed both of those for the District of Clearwater. The checklist, she also provided a checklist at the bottom just to make sure that the applicants can review and double check that they've included everything, and it goes much smoother that way. And just in general, as you go through the process or the application, the higher the grant, the more information that this policy is requesting. We're requesting that grants that are over $2,500 prepare an evaluation form before they get another grant. And I just wanted to make a quick note, page 125, that is the old Clearwater Strategic Plan, but we will be attaching the updated one to the, to the policy. Once council has approved this policy, we will put it on the website and see if we can make it fillable and directly to our email. We've set up a new email for grants and tried to improve it and modernize it a bit. So therefore, just to summarize, the draft community grant policy is more flexible in structure. It meets various requests from applicants. It's designed to improve governance and accountability and provide council with clarity on intergovernmental grants. And the policy supports fair and transparent decision-making.
Thank you. Questions on this one? Thank you for the work on this. This clarifies a whole bunch of stuff that's been sort of bouncing around there, and I absolutely love the new forms. And if a fillable option at any point in the future happens, that's even better, because having looked at a lot of different grant applications over the years, I like this one. This is nice. I think it's very clear, and having the checklist and things like that. As far as policies go, yes, clarification language in there. There's lots of good stuff. Thank you. Questions, comments? Mover, seconder? Councillor Sam first.
So I just love all the work that you did on this. It was so good. It is so clear. And the other great thing is that for some of the grants, it is such a good way to get community feedback as we move into the budget. Like that to me is one of the really easy ones, is that we see requests and we're not like, here's the amount, we have to fit it in. We've got lots of opportunity there. And just to note that it really does highlight the fact that Area A is also eligible. I know that was a couple of questions that I had. And I would be very happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you for moving the recommendation. Further comments or thoughts? Go ahead, Councillor Bratton.
I really like this. Thank you very much. And I really like the evaluation portion. That'll help me a lot. So thank you. Good job.
Do you want to second it?
Oh, I will second that.
Okay. Further discussion. That's excellent work on this. Thank you. All those in favor? And that passes. Thank you.
The only thing I could suggest is before you put it online and change the application checklist, you actually spell checklist.
There are a couple of spelling errors I did note there, but that's why it's called a draft. Thank you for that. Moving on to 16.3, Amendment Policy 2201, Procurement and Disposition of Asset. There is a new policy on table, which is the actual one. And so discard the one that came with your agenda. And Ms. Glasson will be speaking to this one too, by the looks of it.
So, the purpose of this report to council is to seek council's approval for the proposed amendments to the District of Clearwater's Procurement and Disposition Policy 2201. These amendments are intended to enhance governance practices, incorporate ethical considerations, and enable the use of group purchasing strategies. There are 3 new principles that were added to the policy. So the first principle is best value principle. In this process of obtaining the maximum benefit with the resources available to the district, it considers initial cost, quality, safety, sustainability, training, life cycle costs, and other specific attributes. It's not just financial. It also introduces sustainability, a process where integrates environmental, social, governance factors into the procurement decision practices. And of course, the last one is the principle of a buying group or cooperative purchasing. This is a variety of arrangements where 2 or more public entities combine efforts in a single procurement process to achieve volume purchases advantage. A common organization that the government that governments or municipalities use is called Canoe Procurement Group of Canada. This is a nonprofit organizations that procure goods and services contracts for their membership, such as municipalities and governments. Membership here is free. And some local vendors also participate in this arrangement, which is really beneficial for the local vendors. Participating in this type of group may provide time savings, as this group will actually go out and do the procurement for those contractors. So they'll have a huge contract where we can procure at that price, which is a really good benefit for the district. And it could also some cost savings. So we have some experiences already with Cal Tire, and we purchased a drone through this procurement group, and we've got some cost savings through there. In addition to that, in section 3, we've added some text around emergency exceptions, and that if there was an emergency, there's an exception to the procurement policy. We will bring back a report during that emergency, or after the emergency is complete, of all the expenditures that had occurred. And I also added a paragraph about local suppliers being provided the opportunity to quote or tender of certain projects, of the projects, as long as they're under the $75,000 and $200,000 limit. So in section 6, I'm going to just in section 6 of, I don't know what is related to the procurement process, and we introduced or reduced some of the financial restrictions, or increased the financial restrictions around sole source or direct purchasing. Sole source or direct purchasing is when the procurement process doesn't necessarily go through the bidding process or the quoting process. And for the District of Clearwater, it was quite high. So we've reduced it down to $5,000, which is still quite high compared to other local governments, but we reduced it down to $5,000. And when you have a look at that table, the table requires anything over $5,000 to have an exception report and get the sign off by the CAO or the CFO and the director involved. So if we were to go out and get a $7,000 contract, and I would like to, pick my favorite vendor just for examples, I would have to justify that to the CFO or the CAO and the director before I am up to procure that type of cost. Yeah. And finally, in section 9.2, staff has added a supplier code of conduct. There's several points there, but the reason for this is since the suppliers or contractors represent the district when they perform duties, it is important for the district that the contractors and the suppliers adhere to basic laws and conduct themselves and their employees in the most professional behavior as appropriate as we would expect our employees to. The code of conduct can be provided as part of the purchase order or the contract, or it can be emailed or any other communication to the contractors that we're hiring. We've also added a lobbying code of conduct or ethical portion there. It's just a reminder to keep the procurement process professional. And contract splitting. From time to time, you might see somebody split a $100,000 contract 50-50. Well, that's not really ethical, and we should just tell staff that we cannot do that. And it also puts a district at risk. These amendments describe and enhance the governance practices for the District of Clearwater. It incorporates some ethical considerations. It enables the use of a group purchasing strategy. And I have a resolution there for the council to approve the amended procurement policy.
Any questions or comments? I have one that I brought to the CAO earlier today, and that was around potentially adding a clause that says that under disposition of surplus assets, that that assets to be disposed are not that staff and councillors are not eligible to purchase assets, say like trucks that go out for surplus auction or sale. And just throw that out there because it doesn't exist elsewhere, according to the CEO. And I just think for the world we live in right now, keeping things like that clean would probably be something that the public would appreciate. Councillor Bratton.
Would that cover computers and such?
I think it would be things that go out to
Over a certain dollar figure?
well, like trucks and larger assets, not necessarily the things that are kicking around the office or like the council computers and other things that staff computers. But I'll let Ms. Klassen if she has some ideas on that.
Yeah, the council computer has or program has another policy attached to it, I believe, yeah.
Council, it is not, but it is something that we could add as an amendment if we wish.
Yeah, I would
to do
support
so.
that
Okay.
fully. I've seen that happen in another organization where assets were let go at a very reduced cost and a staff member bought it and then auctioned it off at a very big profit. So,
I mean, there's all sorts of pros and cons to it, but at the same time, it's about appearances as far as I'm concerned. Okay, Councillor Herring, did you have a question or a thought? No. Okay. Further questions, Councillor Sim?
And this may be covered in the new change, so I apologize if it is addressed. But would there be financial reporting to council regarding purchases made over $25,000, or do you see this all being captured in the SOFI report?
Many of them are captured in the SOFI report as well. Yeah.
Okay.
If they are, you get a quarterly financial report if there's any questions at that point of all the projects that we're working on and things like that.
Yeah, no, I just wondered because anyway, just curious. And then the second question is the sole purchasing avenue seems like it's a really seamless path to easily contract for quick projects. Is there a mechanism to ensure that there is fair sole sourcing to ensure the opportunity for new providers in that smaller amount? Is that what you've addressed in the changes?
Yes. So if in the sole sourcing, under $5,000?
Yeah. So what I'm asking is if you've got somebody, let's say washing windows, and it's, $700 or something, but if you're always going to the same source, is there sort of an oversight, or if somebody is new has come to town and said, well, wait a minute, I do that too. So what is the mechanism to capture the fact that there's always that fairness that you're referring to in the policy?
So if it's under $5,000, it would be probably more difficult to track for sure, because it's after the $5,000 mark where we're tracking it a little bit more and we're asking our staff to tell us who they got the 3 quotes from, who they called and things like that. It doesn't mean, that's why we have the best policy principle is that, or best practice principle, best value principle is that I'm hoping that the staff that are participating in the vendor or in the procurement process, that they do ask for quotes or tenders or with those new people that come to town or such.
Which does lead to the next one is just anybody that we are working with, are they required to have a business license?
Of course.
And just double checking that because I'm not sure. I think some people have allowed to lapse and it's not always in there.
So, yes.
Well,
I know, but I think it's really important that to stress that, but just
that we
to
say
make
that
sure.
out loud for the record. Yes,
Mhm.
there is a lot of stuff under 9.2, the whole section, that I think would be of interest.
Is that?
So in 9.2.1.1, to be in good standing with the District of Clearwater bylaws and operating within the legal requirements of our jurisdiction. So that could be if you're procuring products from outside of Canada or outside our jurisdiction and you're bringing it in, they should be within our legal parameters.
And there's, you know, in the counter. To
Okay,
some of
so
this-
in answer, and that's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
because the one that we were presented in our package is different than the one that's
Correct.
on table. So that's,
Yes.
I apologize that it's
I
now
apologize.
addressed and,
It's my fault.
okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And the counterpoint of being, sometimes we're covered under CUSMA and NAFTA regulations,
Yes.
so we can't restrict things too far. But yes, I am very happy to see the 9.2 section with all the beefy language in there.
And what it does is there's so many new people coming to town with services, it gives our staff a great opportunity to just continually, you know, reflect as, do I know everybody? And that's why it's great to see the expansion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? If not, can I get a mover and a seconder on this? Moved by Councillor Sim, seconded by Councillor Herring. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, and that passes. Thank you for the work on that one.
Sorry, Mayor Blackwell, was that as amended with your inclusion?
Are we okay with that?
Such a good idea. And so
Amended with a policy that, a line policy that staff and council are ineligible, and I'll let staff work on the actual
so that would
wording
be
on
under
that.
disposal?
Yeah, for under disposal of assets. Thank you for catching that.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Do we need a friendly amendment?
Sorry, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the amendment in we're discussing here, do we want to put a dollar amount on that?
Yeah, I don't think anything under a couple $1,000s should be
What
concerned
could you
about.
see, what could you see being under $2,000? Like,
Oh, you know, basically things like we're talking about staff laptops, chairs, somebody's favorite coffee maker, those sort of things. I don't think we need to necessarily worry about because they're the kind of things that go to auction and you get almost no value for them anyways. It's things like pieces of equipment, attachments for equipment of vehicles, surplus.
so
fire equipment.
$2,000 would cover it.
Probably 2,000 is good. Okay, everybody good with that as a friendly amendment?
So
Should
really,
we vote
it's
on
such
it
a good
again?
idea.
Yes, please.
We're all gonna vote on that again. All those in favor with that amendment to the amendment? Okay, and that passes. And grant and aid. Look at that. Fresh off the presses. Truth and Reconciliation Day. There is a letter and a grant and aid request here from City Wilgosh. Discussion.
I don't think there's any discussion. This is such an important event, and the only thing that it was fun looking at this and how it's come in, and now with the new form, it would actually come with a detailed budget, and it would be so great. So I think this was so timely. Anyway, I'd like to move the
The
request.
request, and what is the exact request? Is
$3,000.
$3,000?
I thought it was. Am I wrong?
I thought it was 5. 3?
I thought
Or
it
am
was
I seeing
3.
3? Oh, it's 3 on that page. Okay, I was getting a little lost in the budget thing. So it is $3,000. Yes, and it is a good day generally. And Cindy generally does not ask for support on these things. So knowing full well that the next time we do this, it will be under the new policy. So there we go. Yeah. Further thoughts or comments? If not, can I get a mover and a seconder, or did you already move it?
I moved it.
Okay, seconded by Councillor, we're gonna go with Councillor Herring this time. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor, and that passes. Thank you. And financial update, staff report update to June 30th, 2025. And there is a report.
A few comments to begin, Mayor and Council. It's just to provide Council with an update of projects, costs and financial plan bylaw. It encourages accountability, reduces current appearances of unexpected results, and improves transparency. This report is of June 30th, 50% through the year. Can't believe it, but we are there. So if you're looking at the reports, and the report shows that we are greater than 50%, it's just an indicator. Okay, so for example, if you're looking on page 149, that is the bylaw report. We're recording revenue at $4.9 million. We're recording 100% of the parcel or the municipal taxes, which is good. We record that right away when we calculate it. And many of those other items in the revenue side, we will be making those entries at year end. The interesting pieces are usually at the bottom section in the total expenditures. You can see the bottom line. We're at 24% of total expenditures, which is well below the 50%. And there is one or two items in there that we might want to review a little bit more closely and see what's causing those items. For example, the debt principal repayment, we make that payment in May, so it shows up as 100%. Page 150 is the, is the project report. We have been been very busy spending money. We spent $668,000. A lot of times this happens, you'll see in Q3 that we're going to see a lot more costs come through. The Zamboni, we have that on site. I know that the air handlers are probably 99% complete. The generators, both of the generators for the facility for here, I think there's a little bit of paving that needs to be completed, and then that's complete. The Centennial Hall furnace, I know Roger has been working on it. We've talked about that, so I think it's pretty well on its way. In protective services, there's a group of projects there. Mr. Smith has done a lot of work on his projects. Just to note there, the mitigation crew and the fire smart crew, I haven't reallocated all the labor there. So there's a lot more work going on in those areas than what shows financially. And the annual roads program, 5017, that is scheduled for later in Q3. And I know they are working on the bridge, and they continue to work through that throughout the year. On the following page is your special projects. Not as much work going on here. We're at $94,000 to a budget of 1.6. I should just quickly mention we had, I think, 3 amendments. One of the amendments was the vehicle fire truck for $70,000. And we had under 3013 is that those signs. So we have an amendment there. Those signs were all just to use up that grant. If council has any questions.
Go ahead, Councilor Bratton.
With the signs,
Yes.
is it included in there the ones to go for no RV parking along Dutch, whatever that road's called?
Old North Thompson Highway,
Thank you.
37 East, related to 37 East.
Director Prime said, no, that's a separate project.
Where, it's can I ask, here in this spot, where are we at with them? Are they here? Are they ordered? I think you and I might have had crossed wires on that one.
I thought they were ordered, and I thought they were here waiting to be installed. I will confirm that, though, because that's where I thought we were at.
Okay. Could I get a timeline of when they might be installed if they are here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Get that back to all council. Thank you. Further questions or comments? Councilor Sim?
For the areas that we've got where it shows we're significantly over, so an example of that would be 5003, the generator, we're at 190%.
So so if you look at 5003, and I'm going to say 5004, there are 2 generators. One was located here at the DLCC and one was at the wells.
Oh, I see what you're, okay, so there's gonna be an offset.
There's an offset there.
Okay.
And I will review all the details very
Okay.
shortly and see if it was an allocation. But I was okay with the report because it had one was offset by the other.
And my second question was, is last year, it was really helpful. You had that nice column and it said what quarter things would be finished in. And maybe we ran out of space on this one. But I found that to be really helpful because it showed what we could expect.
Yes.
For the fiscal accountability.
We will do that for Q3.
Which is great. And then the last question that I had, and it goes into sort of budgets, is there any thought for some of the projects that are in there, and certainly for when we look at our 2025 to 2029 budget, is how we can maybe be looking forward for some of the available grants? So, for example, the Canada Community Building Fund and the Active Transportation, or even the Rural Economic Diversification. Are we looking at any of those and how they identify with our budgets?
I think the CEO and I had a conversation about Reddit before he went on holidays.
Yeah, we do actively scan grants as they come out and see where they will fit into the budget. Not every grant is applicable to smaller communities, and some you have to be careful that you're not just chasing grants to get funding, but we do actively look at grants as they come out.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just wondering if there could be some sort of review like that rural subsidy one. We've got so many economic development reports. Like, is there anything that's tying into some of our work? I don't even know, given what we heard about with the skateboard or with the pump track, is that an economic driver that would come under that rural economic diversification? Right, like, and the deadline's like September 30th or something. So and if it needs a council resolution, I just didn't know where we were at and scanning in coordination with deadlines.
And that grant particularly, I believe, has our engineers are actually considering it because it's quite a broad grant, the scope on that. So our goal is to put in for projects where hopefully best value to the community, because it results in big projects that we need to get done, right? So, and of course they come back to council for ratification, but we do actively, I can't say specific to that grant I know our engineers have been working on it fairly recently as far as what.
Yeah, and it's just getting an idea because people hear about them, and then it's nice to know that staff is already, 2 steps ahead on that, so.
Yeah, I had a good dig through the Reddit grants and saw some of the things that were finished at the last. I was actually surprised at the variety of things under Reddit that actually, and the value of dollars. Some of them are $400,000 $1 million projects that are in there. So it's kind of interesting to see what comes up there.
My final question is just about the projects. Is one, do we have plans for the yellow iris mitigation? Sorry, Teresa.
Yellow iris.
Because I'm not sure if we were able to activate it last year, and do we have plans for it this year? I know I think this was one of the smartest things that staff did for the budget, which was use the climate action money. So
so we've got a lot of plans around that, Councillor.
Oh.
We did deadheading of yellow iris, which we've talked about a few times. So that process has been done. It's not being billed yet.
Okay.
But we sent a team and they deadheaded it, and they deadheaded, I believe, half the lineal footage of the beach. So they got half the lake done on their deadheading project. They had a crew in for 3 days. It's also the project that we said we're actively looking at that whole more of the lake health study. So we're looking, trying to find the appropriate consultant who can help us revisit those older reports, and then bring any newer knowledge to bear on what we're going to do with that. So, and that actually went to council as well, where we said we want to look at this from a broader perspective.
I didn't see it in conjunction with the money spent, and then when you see 0% on this particular report, it doesn't. It was just trying to align the two pieces of information.
Yeah. So the deadheading project, which wasn't a huge bill, that actually went ahead in July, so it wouldn't be in these numbers yet.
Okay.
But and then the rest, we have not sourced out that consultant to take a look at the lake health aspects.
And then just making sure that 37 East is really going to be on track for this year.
37 East is an area we need to have some discussion. We want to take that back to council for more of a fulsome discussion around that project.
Okay, and would that fall, with those discussions, would anything fall there? Would it come under like active transportation, given its routing? And in which case I tie it back to that grant question.
There's a lot of elements to 37 East that I think we need to talk about. And
Thank
there's
you.
also the connection to the whole Dutch Lake corridor conversation, which according to our engineers is coming back pretty quickly. So
Okay,
I
thank you very
don't
much.
have a date on that. I think they're planning to bring that back. My understanding was September, bring that final discussion back, right? And they want to do a bit more of a consultation around that one. They've got the ideas, do some drafting of what those ideas look like, and in conjunction with some of the OCP work.
I have one more question.
Just trying to deal with someone at the same time. Go ahead.
Just one more question, just because you reminded me, mentioning the road. They're coming in to do some paving up by Bilo. Is that confirmed, and will we be able to announce that before they get here and all that jazz?
I believe that one has already been announced. You're right, it's coming in. I think it's within a week. There will be within the next week. They'll be here. It's already been announced, and they're hand delivering notices to all the folks who are actually in the mall, the various stores in the mall, hand delivering notices there, and I think they're just local advertisement on the fact that there'll be just some disruption there.
And you may have already thought of this, but have we included the schools and the bus garage to notification? Because that impacts
I will
the high school.
confirm whether those have been
and the
included,
elementary.
make sure that they get notified. The vision there, hopefully, is to get that completed by fairly quickly. It's not that big of a project,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And the last word I heard is they were hoping to have it completed before the buses need to roll, or at latest within a couple of days of school start, right? So it's not intended to drag on to be a long project.
Thank you.
Okay, further questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Herring.
So the development approvals process grant, and we're at a fairly low completion rate on that. Is there any updated timelines on getting that done?
A couple of elements to that. The DCCs, I've instructed our friends again at True Consulting that let's complete the project. There's aspects to it that are still problematic. The special DCC area for the Park Drive subdivision, I think we need to remove that conversation, finish the rest of the DCCs, and handle that as a kind of a special one-off project. So I told them I want to have that thing done. It's been out too long, right? We've been talking about it. We did fulsome engagement on it. We had the open houses. We met with all the major developers. We've done that part. So let's complete it now. I don't think there's even any engagement required other than the process of doing bylaws. There's other components to that grant that I'm trying to work with the province on. How do we utilize some of that funding? The grant itself is quite a mixture of different concepts in there that would be hard to get fully deliver on. So we're doing some work around what's the next best way to use those funds, right? So there'll be more to be said on that. But definitely DCCs. Yeah, we want to get those done.
Thank you. Is your question, or yeah? Okay. Cool. Thank you. Further questions? If not, we do have a recommendation to receive for information. Mover and a seconder on that. Moved by Councillor Frizzle, second by Councillor Matheson. All those in favor? And thank you for the work on that. We do have a couple of correspondence items. One is Village Lions Bay request for support and endorsement. I don't think we need to actually write a letter, but those going to UBCM could read that and decide if they want to take that on as supporting that, or you could write a letter of support. And the other one is North Thompson Communities Foundation event, SIP and support. as the person that doesn't drink alcohol anymore, this is sad. Anyways, but good on them for what they're doing there. I did receive one more thing while this was going on from some First Nations. Just a heads up to let everybody know that Wednesday, September 3rd will be First Fish at the Raft River viewing platform, 12 noon to 5 p.m. Activities, dinner, singing, games, drumming, all the good stuff there. Always a good time. So there we are. And we do have to move back into committee of the whole briefly, not into in camera. So can I get a motion to move back into committee of the whole? Or do I actually need to do that? I do, okay. Thank you, Councillor Bratton, seconded by Councillor Frizzle. All those in favor of moving back to committee of the whole briefly, thank you. Sorry, community comments. Are there any, do you have any comments from the community, no, good at this? No comments? You can actually stay for this one, because it's committee of the whole, but yes. I think you needed to leave after 3.5 hours. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, sorry. Anyways, we're back into committee of the whole, and I'll let Mr. Prime let us know what we actually have to deal with here, because I've forgotten.
Thank you, Mayor Blackwell. We're just back on the report for the financial plan schedule 2026 to 2030. And it's item 8.2 in your committee of the whole agenda, and I'll let Ms. Klassen speak to that.
Right, because we did not complete that before going into in camera and then into the regular meeting.
So the purpose of the report in front of council today is to get approval for the financial plan schedule for 2026 to 2030. New to this year's process is that staff will be developing a business plan for each operational area. The benefit of adding this to the process is that it demonstrates the alignment with the council strategic plan, and it fosters a more cohesive and interdepartmental plan. The plan should support this business plan should support a longer term vision, at least 1 to 5 years, or at least 5 years. As you know, the financial plan is driven mostly by legislation deadlines and operational requirements. The blue lines in page 25, those are the processes inside of processes. So it's the permissive tax exemption process, which needs to be approved by bylaws by October 31st. And then the community grant approval program, which we just adopted the new policy for. I have it scheduled for January 20th. The green lines are public engagement opportunities. We are legislated to at least have one, but often we have two, and sometimes it's more than two. So some of the operating deadlines is the fees and charges. That includes sewer and water charges, should be adopted prior to the beginning of 2026. So that would be December 31st. And early project approval, in the prior years, we've requested a few projects to have early project approval. This year, we may be requesting perhaps the full project approval so we can get started and moving forward on our projects, which often provide us with better lead time, better opportunities for vendor choices, quality, and price. Is there anything council would like to add or have questions?
Questions or additions? It was also brought to my attention earlier, and I discussed it with the CAO about trying to fit the meeting times for the rest of the year after 2 o'clock, so that those that have work requirements can do that, and I think staff will work on that. Go ahead, Councillor Sim.
Yeah, the one thing that was really kind of exciting here was the area business plan, area objective strategies, resources, and actions. That seems like such a good idea, but it seems like it might take up more than one meeting. And so where do we fit that in? Like, we've got a lot of really great focus on the financial plan, but then I wonder about other things. Like, I think that last year, and the part of the financial plan was looking at what the council's thought was around debt ratio for some of the big projects, and I don't see that in here, and I think that's going to take some time as well. And it just causes me to wonder: is all of our time being allocated strictly for budget and financial, and do we need to relook at our structure?
Thoughts? Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Thanks, Mayor. So the business plan is a new thing, and it is going to be, I think, quite informative for council. So the driver behind that is we're asking the managers in their departments to say, okay, what are your key issues you're facing right now? What are your opportunities looking out for the next number of years? And it's a way to actually get the connection to where council can understand, here's some of the things staff feels we need to be working on. Here's the connection to the strategic plan for the corporate or for the organization as a whole. And it helps you to understand how we're going to be driving the strategic plan forward. But it also gives staff the opportunity to say, hey, there's some key issues in my area that we need to solve looking forward. So you get a better understanding, I guess, of the holistic picture of it, of the organization from the staff perspective anyways. The thing I like about business plans is it really forces you to think structured, right? It's a structured way of thinking where you're not just thinking about, okay, here's my budget for this year. It's here's my budget, here's the things I'm trying to achieve, what are my main goals I'm trying to achieve with this business plan. And it doesn't have to be a massively huge document. For some of the areas, like a business plan around, for example, roadways. That business plan may say, we're going to do the road assessment, we're going to identify critical roads, we're going to look at how we fund these roads as far as what the impact is on our taxation. It can be a fairly, maybe big dollars, but it doesn't have to be this long, complex thing where council has to dig in and spend 2 days looking at just roads. The division is a high level connection between the strategic plan versus what's driving our operating plan moving forward. It's kind of the connecting point.
Councilor Pratt?
If I understand this correctly, this is just for the financial schedule, is it? Not the whole encompass. Once we get through the business plans, then that'll give us a comprehensive schedule?
Yep.
Okay.
Councilor Herron?
I think these meetings are going to take a long time, which is good, but should we plan for longer meetings?
Yeah.
Based on a lot of the finance process, we need to get through it. We've been having really robust conversations, even on things that are usually pretty short, and I'm predicting that we're going to be in these for a while.
I see Mr. Prime there, but I also, and I'm seeing the stack up of some of these meetings in the same month and that sort of thing. I did suggest to the CAO earlier today that we trim all things out or move all things out that are not urgent from these meeting days. So even reducing our council reports, moving presentations, etc., things that are not essential or urgent from those days, either before or after those meeting days to help us with that load. But Mr. Prime, go ahead if you have thoughts.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Part of that is we do have the council procedure bylaw coming up for renewal. Some changes coming to that in the fall. That was part of the projects that council had wanted to see some changes to that. Part of that, like you're saying, is council reports. Some of that's going to be meeting times. So we will sort of have some time for feedback from council in terms of 2026's council schedule. That'll be where we sort of capture that. And I think there'll be definitely some recommendations on how we can better, make better use of council's times there as well.
All I'm saying is if we're staying late,
If we're staying late, I want a pizza and a salad. Councilor Sim.
So as part of that review, are you thinking, I'm just trying, sometimes I feel like we do too much in our committee of the whole. So are you looking to maybe break that out so it's a finance committee? And does it have to be everybody and then the recommendations are brought back to council? And can it be on different days? Like in Quesnel, I was interested to know what you had traditionally done. And there seems to be some ease and there was some fluidity in which the schedules were managed and it wasn't all crammed. It was also really easy for people to go and find out what's been happening. So, for finance and that. So it was separated. Is that where you're thinking about going, or no?
I think that needs a further discussion. I actually happen to be a fan of having a finance committee to vet a lot of this stuff. The disadvantages with the finance committee is if you have 2 or 3 counselors on it, they become the experts, they know what's in there, they kind of shape it moving forward. But when it comes to council, they already have had questions about it. So those are typically the ones who aren't talking when it comes to council. And then it looks like, hey, why aren't those people? And actually they've had all the input. So it's got problems with it. But it does, a finance committee does reduce the time spent in this type of a meeting at a regular council meeting, right? You bring recommendations from the finance committee, and by then they're already kind of vetted through.
And there's also minutes that are brought forward. Like, to Councillor Herring's point, like, it takes a lot of time, and I have to wonder if all have to be there, or if, you know, you can kind of say, can you do the heavy lifting, and we trust the team input on it. And it does sort of expedite things to move into, you know, other areas. Because, for example, I don't see a lot of time in here, with the exception of this new wonderful thing for October 7th. Our community asks for economic development, and we don't spend like always a lot of time on that, or what that might mean. And does this then free things up? And that's all I'm looking at. Do we have to do all things together, or can we trust one another that we can bring the highlights and tease it apart?
I think that will be part of the big discussion about how we change council procedures, etc. I'm fine with a good shakeup.
Just divides the time, like, and just, you know, makes it, you can do more by Zoom meetings, like, you know, just different things that fit into working people's lives, so it's not always here, and it doesn't feel like it's a marathon. And all of a sudden council feels like exhausting, as opposed to, yeah, I want to bring, you know, fresh ideas, etc.
And we've also done this version for a long time. And you know, listening to other people with outside perspectives about how our meetings run, where things are at in the meeting, where they appear in the meeting. I think there's definitely opportunities to shake things up so that we put the priorities at the front while we've still got the energy. And the easy things at the end, like, say, council reports at the end, where, we already know these things, so we can just say them versus, spending half an hour on them up front.
Or council reports are just related to committee efforts.
Well, yes,
and we just eliminate the community service announcements.
There is that too. There is reduction, and also if you are going to do that, submit them in writing so that they can be part of the minutes and not necessarily.
And then the
read all
calendar of
points.
events and all sorts. I think that what happened is when we moved to committee of the whole, we removed committees, and so there wasn't necessarily delegation, because what is the work of council, and just trying to be visible on that and be able to dig in.
Yeah, and there's different ways of doing it, and some of them have already happened. Is it What's Happening Clearwater, the thing that you put out already? Yeah, I mean, that's another way to start reporting out on the work of council, so that we don't have to do it every single time in the meeting. Yeah.
And along those lines, the other thing we're going to start doing is doing a council update, or council clippings, whatever you want to call it.
Post-meeting.
Right after the council meeting, hopefully within the next day or so, we'll put a little update out to the community, what we talked about, right? Yes. So and we have been previously reporting it, but it's in the newsletter, which is quite a long time after the fact. And if people are not keeping up with it, they kind of lose track of issues.
Don't we have a communications person? I'm trying to see where they fit into this.
That is the objective.
That's the objective,
have
yeah.
that
Okay,
person
thank you.
eventually take over.
I wasn't sure if you meant we were supposed to be doing that, and I'm like,
There is one Okanagan mayor that actually does it on recording at the end of every meeting, and I'm not there yet. So, but we do have a communications person. So, yeah. So we have this here. Did we pass the last thing that we did? Did we actually move and second it? Thank you. Move the schedule, second the schedule. Councillor Matheson, all those in favor? Anybody opposed?
no, I'm in favor.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Yes, please.
All those in favor, Frizzle, Matheson, and all those in favor. Frizzle. I just fizzled.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, just before we do need to just reconvene into regular, pass the recommendation from the Committee of the Whole.
Okay.
Apologies.
So
That would be under item 9.1.
motion to move back into committee of the whole, or the regular meeting. So that was Frizzle and Bratton. All those in favor, we now in regular. Motion to pass the financial plan schedule. Mover and a seconder, please. Frizzle, Bratton again. All those in favor. Motion to adjourn. Frizzle and Matheson, and we are done.
Thank you.